Hello, 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 and welcome to the first, where's my camera? To the first annual Gravity Forms Summit. I'm going to kick things off here. We're going to run a pretty tight ship. 20-minute pre-recorded sessions are happening from the folks that you see right here on the screen, starting with myself first. 20-minute recorded sessions. Then we're going to hop into a live Q&A. So if you're watching, get your questions ready. Bring your questions in while we're streaming, whichever platform you're watching on, whether it's Facebook or YouTube. Bring those questions to the guests. Thanks for joining. It's been a Herculean effort from the entire team, including the speakers that you're going to see here today. I'm going to kick it off with me kicking it off from the past in a recorded video. Here we go, everybody. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you in the live Q&A on the other side. And welcome to Gravity Forms' first Gravity Forms Summit. Thanks for hanging out with us today in this first ever virtual summit, half-day summit, where you're going to learn a lot. If you're a freelancer or an agency, what we're trying to do here is provide some great content. Hopefully that translates into some great value for those freelancers and agencies who are getting ready for the 2024 season, right? We're going into the holidays, Black Friday, Thanksgiving, Christmas, all right around the corner here. And I know as an agency owner, former agency owner, what this time of the season means. It means a lot of people aren't making too many decisions. We're getting into the holidays, everything's cooling down, a lot of time off. There's not a lot of big contracts being signed. And then we're also using it as some downtime, obviously to spend some time with friends and family, but to start to prepare our business and how we're going to jump into 2024. And we want to do that today through some 20-minute sessions and some live Q&A questions and answers that we have lined up with a great panel of speakers. So in today's lineup, we have myself, we have Jamie Osler from the Gravity Forms team, we have Travis Lopes from Cosmic Giant, the wonderful Kathy Zant, now at Web Dev Studios, Zach Katz from GravityKit, and Dave Smith from GravityWiz. All sessions are being recorded, so if you have to skip around sessions or you have to leave the half-day summit, that's okay. All sessions are being recorded, and you'll get them over at our YouTube channel when the event is done. Let's dive into my presentation, the perfect donation form, almost perfect donation form with Gravity Forms. Nothing's ever perfect. There's a lot of different ways to do things in Gravity Forms, which is fantastic. So some of the stuff I present today, you might already know, but you might pull on some threads of things that you've not seen before and how I approach nonprofit sites or donation forms with Gravity Forms. If you've not come across my work before, I am the WordPress community evangelist at Gravity Forms. I'm the host of the Breakdown podcast, the Gravity Forms podcast. Go to gravityforms.com/breakdown to get that podcast every 2 weeks, every Monday, every 2 weeks in your favorite podcast player. Sometimes you'll see me on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/gravitywp. I'm a recovering decade-old agency owner, ran an agency for 10 years. So I know a lot about this stuff, and I'm a podcaster. So I'm really excited to chat about a lot of this stuff with you today. Okay, in the context of nonprofits and donation forms, what's my background? Well, aside from being an agency owner and having helped folks build out solutions with Gravity Forms before, I'm also helping my friend run a nonprofit. And I've spent a lot of time in the weeds of Gravity Forms and setting up donation forms, selling tickets to an event, creating different types of dynamic content with Gravity Forms that are unique for a nonprofit. So that'll be the backdrop of my background and the examples, the real world examples that I've put into play with Gravity Forms and an actual nonprofit site for raising donations. So some of the areas that we'll cover today: Stripe and PayPal connection, creating those donation forms and maybe the different ways that you can go about it. Selling tickets to an event. I'll show you one way that I used a solution from GravityWiz and their add-ons and how I sold some basic tickets to an event. And then maybe show you how to leverage Gravity Forms to create dynamic content like public notes or sympathy messages that might go along with a donation or a cause-driven website. But let's set the stage just a little bit. If you're new to Gravity Forms, you're not a customer yet, you're looking to buy into the Gravity Forms ecosystem, Why is Gravity Forms such a great solution, specifically for freelancers and agencies that are going to use it as a tool at the heart of maybe their solutions-based business? So some advantages are it's a flexible solution for client requests. We can do a lot with Gravity Forms. It's one tool, one streamlined workflow. And what that translates into, if, again, freelancer agency owner like I was, when I was doing pre-sales or customer discovery or customer intake, whatever you call it, and I could hear the problems that customers had, where they wanted to go with their business, what were they looking to solve, what other areas of pain did they have with connecting marketing applications to the data on their website or the customer to the product team behind the scenes. When you start to use Gravity Forms and the immense ecosystem that it has for add-ons, you start to see those conversations in that lens through Gravity Forms. So as you're intaking and building out quotes and kind of thinking about this stuff, you can just stay in the lane of Gravity Forms. And as the customer is talking to you, yes, I can solve this with Gravity Forms. I can solve that with Gravity Forms. It means you're not scrambling. You're not building all kinds of different tech stacks to solve many different clients. It's many different clients and one solution, and that's Gravity Forms and the add-on system that it provides and the flexibility that it provides. And that can really lead to less overhead for your team and more streamlined quotes. You might get to a position in your business, especially as you, let's say, niche down into nonprofits. You might start looking at it and say, hey, if I can't solve this particular thing with Gravity Forms, I might tell that customer, no, we can't do this. Or you might look at it and say, hey, this is going to be a real custom solution. And since I can't solve it with Gravity Forms, it's 5 times the normal price, or whatever it is. You start to frame it in saying, I can solve a bunch of pain with Gravity Forms this way at this cost. And then if anything outside of those boundaries, I either don't want it because it's too much stress, or it's going to be priced at a premium tier. Gravity Forms has a market-leading add-on ecosystem. We have all the core add-ons that come with Gravity Forms. We have certified add-ons, and we have third-party add-ons. All this leads to an immense amount of solutions that Gravity Forms can solve. And then we have nonprofit licensing. So if you're working with nonprofits, they can apply right on gravityforms.com and get a discount for their nonprofits. And it comes at a much lower dollar fee with a lot more access to the add-on ecosystem at Gravity Forms. So before we get into the examples, again, providing value to you freelancers and agencies out there, why should you consider finding a vertical, niching down into nonprofits? Well, when you become the expert in a specific industry with a specialized stack, you become the go-to person for, let's say, nonprofits or local charities. And nonprofits have a strong network effect for referrals. So as you become known in the space for doing XYZ using Gravity Forms, you're going to get more referral business because those people are going to know, like, and trust you. And that wheel, that marketing wheel, the word of mouth referral system, which is still so strong in our industry, just becomes primed, and it puts you in an amazing place as a business owner. Gravity plus WordPress also means that you can build out an affordable alternative to costly platforms. So platforms that are going to take more of a percentage away from nonprofits, or they're just not as flexible, right? It only does it one way. With Gravity Forms, you can come up with your own way to solve a particular issue for a client. So that's going to mean a tighter, stickier relationship with nonprofits. And perhaps you find more purpose in your work when you're working with nonprofits, which always, at the end of the day, feels good. You're not just putting out a website or servicing anyone who comes through the door, but you can align yourself with goals and values with your nonprofit customers. Okay. That's enough talking right now. We're going to do some more talking, but we're going to do it in a demo fashion. I'm going to show you how I build out the different elements of, let's say, the Nick Strong Foundation website for donations and other various parts of a nonprofit site with Gravity Forms. Okay, in the first part of our demo, we want to set up a donation form using Stripe and PayPal. The idea is that you want to use your Stripe account for credit cards. Stripe is very developer-friendly. The reports are great. Overall, the experience is a little bit more streamlined than the PayPal experience. And on our donation form, we'll use the Stripe form field for the credit cards. And then we'll give the user the option to select PayPal so that they can use their PayPal account or Venmo account. That's how I have it set up in my real world experiences at our donation form. So we want to set it up the same way here, give you an idea of how that works. Okay, let's dive in. We'll create add new. Gravity Forms will pop up with some templates to choose from. We'll just use the donation form template. We'll call it Matt's donation form. Use this template. And templates are just going to set the stage for you. They're going to set the overall structure, but you'll have to go in and add in your payment fields and conditional logic, or add in any other fields that are relevant to your donation form. We have some hidden fields here that tell you what to do next, like next step, install a payment add-on. I'm just going to remove that for now. And then down at the bottom is another one that's going to tell you, hey, you should probably put the credit card field here. So I'm going to remove both of those for now, hit save form. Another thing that you should do right out of the gate is go to your donation amount section. We'll click on the settings and edit the choices. So let's just take a look at this. These are the set fields for, or the set amounts that we're just guessing you want on your donation form. You can change these to whatever you want, add, remove, modify, it's okay, however you see fit. But what I'll tell you to do right out of the gate is check off a default donation amount. So at minimum, you want people to give you $10, and we're setting that on by default, because what that's going to do is pass that information down into Stripe and PayPal. And you can run into errors sometimes, which I did, where if you don't have that set and there is no payment form coming through, then the fields won't appear because it's saying, hey, there's nothing selected. We can't show you anything if there's nothing here. So we want to check off the default amount of at minimum $10 for your donation form. Save the field. Or save the form, I should say. Now let's go ahead and add in our PayPal and our Stripe form. So let's go ahead and go to pricing fields. We'll bring in Stripe first. We'll add that right there. It's going to prompt you to say, hey, please check if you've activated a Stripe feed to your form. Feeds are sort of like this conduit, this communication layer between WordPress and Gravity Forms and any other external service, sometimes even into the same WordPress website. Feeds allow us to send and receive data back and forth. So let's go ahead and click on the Stripe feed. We'll create a feed. And the only thing you need to differentiate between feeds, and you can have multiple feeds, but you want to have products and services or subscriptions. So is this a static donation? Are they buying a product? Is it part of a service, or is this a recurring thing? This matters because this is the difference of data that will be passed back and forth between your site and, let's say, Stripe in this case. Let's just go with products and services now. Unless you're doing like a recurring donation, some kind of membership site with your nonprofit, then you'd want the subscription one. This is all, we're just going to, for the interest of time, kind of go through this kind of quickly. Here on this screen is what we'd be setting up the data that gets passed to Stripe. So if you were collecting address, name, other information, and you want to send that to Stripe for accounting reasons or receipt reasons, and you'll see in a moment, then you'd want to set that all up in the feed. I'm going to pass that for now. At minimum, we need to send the email to Stripe. That's the unique identifier on the Stripe side. And the description can be anything here from your form. You could have a product name. You could have a hidden field that gets passed that says, hey, this was a donation for the foundation or whatever. And then the person's name, we can go full name. And all that data, again, will be sent to Stripe so that when you're running reports on Stripe and going through your data in Stripe, you'll have all that there, okay? You can send custom fields and stuff like that. That'll be for another video. One thing that's really critical, which can be overlooked, is the Stripe receipt, receipts in general. How do you know you're getting a donation, or how does the end user know that they made their donation and they have an actual receipt for it so they can show proof of it? If you enable email receipt here, Stripe will send a Stripe formatted receipt that you can actually customize. I think you can just change like maybe the logo and the color scheme. But this makes your world a whole heck of a lot easier when you set up the Stripe receipts. Aside from building something custom or creating like a PDF and then you have to resend that, I would just say let Stripe handle it until maybe your organization and branding gets to a whole different level. I'm going to save settings. We're going to come back to the screen later. But we're going to save it here for now, and we're going to go back to our form. Let's refresh the page, leave. And now our Stripe field is set up. When we hit settings, you can see that we enabled additional payments. You can manage additional payment methods in your Stripe dashboard. I would always leave this checked off if I were you. And then go, if you want, you can set up the link, Stripe link settings, which basically saves the email and corresponding information, probably like in a token, if I'm using technical words, between your website and Stripe. And this allows you to have a one-click checkout for future purchases. So I don't know if you're doing a lot of recurring events, like I think of like road races, like 5Ks, 10Ks, and you're using that in your like nonprofit as events that you're fundraising with. You might have people coming back constantly giving you money for these types of events or these types of donations. Stripe would allow that person to save that information. It's upon they'd have to opt into it, but then they could just come and click and check out faster, right? So that's what Stripe Link is all about. Okay. Let's go ahead and drop in PayPal. Pricing field, PayPal. Put that right below the Stripe settings or the Stripe field. And for the payment settings here, we're going to uncheck the credit card portion of PayPal because we want Stripe to handle the credit card side. We just want people to use PayPal for the buttons. Theoretically, these buttons right here, the PayPal button, so that they can check that and use their account to check out. So I'm going to hit save. And the last thing that we'll need to do, or almost the last thing that we'll need to do, is set up some conditional logic. We can't display both Stripe and PayPal at the same time. We want to be able to make that conscious decision, or we want the user to make that conscious decision to say, oh, look, it's a credit card field. Yes, I'm going to check right out. Or, where's that PayPal? Oh, I'm going to select PayPal and then show the PayPal button. So let's go to radio buttons. We'll put that before both Stripe and PayPal fields. Call this payment types. We'll edit the choices. First choice will be credit card, and we'll check that off by default, highlighting the little check mark green, and the next one we'll just call PayPal. Remove the third because we only have 2 payment types, and hit save. So that's step 1 in the conditional logic side of it. We need to have the user select something, payment types, default to credit cards, and we want Stripe to show by default. So we'll go into conditional logic. Say, show this field if payment types is credit card. And then we'll go down to PayPal and set up conditional logic there. Okay. So we've got the conditional logic set up. User makes the choice, credit card or PayPal. It's credit card by default. And then when they select PayPal, it will display the PayPal button. So let's go to add a new page. And we'll do /Gravity forms. Select the form, Matt's donation form. Publish. View the page. And you can see right here, this is the Stripe credit card fields, and then PayPal fields. When they check that off, PayPal, Venmo, and Pay Later show up. Okay, we're running out of time, and I want to show you really quickly how to customize the look and feel of your themes. If we click of our forms, if we click into the form, on the right-hand side, we can switch to form styling using Gravity Forms Orbital theme. And what that's going to unlock is a host of options for our input styles, our label styles, font sizes, description font sizes, button colors, background colors. So let's just switch the button to this vivid amber, you can see the payment button turns to that brighter yellow. We can do things like switch the font size. That's the description. If we go to label sizes, we can make the label sizes a lot larger here. And that's all being customized right inside of Gravity Forms these days. So if you want to make your donation forms look a little bit better, they need to maybe match on brand. Let's go to orange there, so that doesn't look as bad. So if you need to match on brand, that'll make life a whole heck of a lot easier for you. And then, of course, WordPress, if you're not using like a feature theme or a page building theme, WordPress has the group block, which if you add in a group block, we'll select the full size layout. We'll bring our Gravity form into that group block. We can apply styles directly to a group block, including things like background color. So if we wanted to give that a background color, and then let's just bring that down a touch so it's not super overpowering. And then we can do things like add padding, which will make life a little bit easier here. So if we want to add some padding on the top and bottom and the sides, and then give the overall block, let's say this 2-pixel outline, we can update that. And it's going to look exactly the same in the front end because it's a very straightforward theme. Now our donation form has just a little bit more styling, especially if you're using a super lightweight theme like this, which is just like white on white, white form fields, white background. You can play with the accent colors with Orbital. You can use the group block, which is in WordPress by default. Sorry, I didn't get to the other areas of the demonstration, but there was a lot in setting up payment forms. This will get you moving in the right direction for accepting donations with Gravity Forms on your nonprofit WordPress websites. All right. Okay. It's always weird watching yourself for 20 minutes talking about Gravity Forms. I am joined by our community lead, Mike. I'm not talking to myself for the next 10 minutes.
Glad to. Thanks for having me on.
Nonprofit stuff. Obviously, I covered the form donation. As I mentioned at the top of the stream, I have some real world experience building for a nonprofit website. If you have any questions from the demonstration that I put out, sadly, I didn't get to, in that presentation, 2 other bonus components, which was selling tickets with Gravity Forms and doing like sympathy messages. But Gravity Forms has a great add-on ecosystem. This is going to get a little bit technical here, but what I found very useful for a nonprofit site, and what we did when we first launched the site, was getting folks to send us what we'll call sympathy messages. Hey, we're really saddened to hear about this thing. Anything we can do to help? Prayers or words of encouragement. And what I was doing was using the custom post type add-on to create those custom post types and display them on the front end of the site, which was a great boost for the family and, for folks coming by the site to donate. So a lot of cool, flexible things that you can do with Gravity Forms. There's never just one way, I learned, after using Gravity Forms now for like 12 years. There's never one way to do something.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them into the chat and we will highlight them on the screen. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Mike, any questions for me or anything you want to mention about nonprofit stuff?
No. How could I have questions with such an amazingly smooth run presentation there, Matt? That was killer. But no, the nonprofit stuff in general is something that I think we're really proud of here at Gravity Forms. The Gravity Forms nonprofit license that you mentioned is much more affordable. It gives you access to all of the add-ons and Gravity Forms features, and it supports 3 sites and has support and gives you all the updates. And it's like we said, it's at a price point that does make it a lot easier and more accessible for those people in those tight nonprofit environments. I think about your example is perfect. Someone that just wants to try to help, from their small scale setup, not necessarily a giant nonprofit. It's a great way to get in the door for that. And we also have some support for those people through some of our payment providers as well. We have some some deals that they're willing to offer to help people in the nonprofit space to help make even their payment solutions a little bit more affordable. Square comes to mind. Molly, if you're not in the US, if you're in the Netherlands or the UK or Europe, Molly is offering some of those as well. So you can check out the nonprofit page that Matt brought up there and check those out as well.
One of the things that, I mean, look, when I would consider myself a WordPress power user, right? Been using WordPress forever, ran an agency for a decade. And when I started putting together this nonprofit form, just so much, like I sat back and I said, wow, there's the learning curve of WordPress. There's the learning curve of Gravity Forms. I'm putting myself in the shoes of an end user here, not of like an agency owner. Right. And then there's, well, how do I start a nonprofit? Like, how do I do that? Because that's what we were faced with when we were starting a nonprofit. My friend, led the administrative side of it, and he talked to a lawyer and filed and got the 5013C or C3, whatever it is, did all that. And then you have to like set up the banking, you have to set up Stripe. There's a whole world to this that goes beyond like the technical challenge of a website with a donation form. So I think for freelancers and agencies out there, if you're new to the game and you're getting into this and you have Gravity Forms in your toolkit and you're like, how do I get better clients? How do I get bigger projects? How do I get more stickier engagements? This is how you become the go-to sort of consultant on all things, let's say, nonprofit formation, right? Because the customer doesn't just need the donation form. They need to figure out how to get this started. In some cases, if they're not a well-established nonprofit, but if there's folks that are just getting started, you can be that person to consult on all areas. And it's not just about, hey, build me a website. It's about, show me how to get through this whole thing, top to bottom. Lawyers, legal, counsel, financial, banks, Stripe, PayPal. Help me get all this stuff up, then the website, and then help me keep this thing going. Marketing, maintenance, design, social. It's a big, big thing. And what you don't want to do as a freelancer and an agency is put yourself in that position where things just stop. You could build a business that way. You just, hey, clean your hands, you build a website, off you go, you get to the next website, cool. But if you want to build these longer lasting engagements, you wrap the whole thing in a solution. By the way, WordPress and Gravity Forms right in the center of that. We have one question that just came through from Iowa League of Cities. Any suggestions on how to incorporate paper check payments in these types of forms? Oh my God, it's the first question I have no idea how to answer, and we're only at the start of the stream. Hopefully the team back home is watching. Somebody will Slack message me the answer. Any suggestions on how to incorporate paper check payments in these types of forms? I would imagine that you would have a dynamic field that would skip payment. The form would submit, register as an entry in the database. And then on the back end of that, in your accounting system, you'd actually wait for that person to get the check. They'd mail it to you, or if it's like a show up in person kind of thing at like a road race or something, here's the check. And then in your accounting system, you would have to check that off as manually paid. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. Thoughts on that, Mike?
I would agree. I was going a different direction. That's probably less likely, where there could maybe be, to your point, a custom field that you could have them put in the routing, the account number, much like you'd find on their paper check regardless, and then the amount. There you go. Potentially now with direct deposits through banking apps, there might even be an option to upload a picture of that check.
So I think, yes, if you do what's it called? Multiple payments, additional payment types with Stripe. There's an ACH field there, I believe. So you can do that. But hey, if the person's like, no, I want to write you a check, you'd have to do it that way. Is America the only country that still does checks?
I actually wrote a check today, so we might be. I can't remember the last time I heard someone else writing checks, but
idea alien hopped in and answered it for us. You could add a radio button to let them select pay by check if you need to validate it's deposited before other things happen. Gravity Flow demo shortly. we'll have examples for you. Oh, I wonder who Idea Alien is. It's like Halloween here, still in the office. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, Jim, Big James. You can use a drop-down or radio button field for payment. If they choose check, you can provide the details necessary so the customer can complete those details and send a check. So I wasn't that far off.
No, that's pretty on the mark there, Matt. Good work.
Let's see. Iowa comes back. Iowa League of Cities. Welcome to Iowa. Using Stripe hosting form. I don't have to submit options. So a forked path. Hopefully, we've answered that. And Jim says, Idea Alien beat me to it. So here's how the rest of the summit is going to go. We're at the ad break right now. We're going to pause for 5 minutes, a little breather. Matt has to take a little bit of a break. And then come back. The next person up on the docket will be Jamie Osler from the Gravity Flow team. He's going to show us some of that stuff. Mike, any parting words before we go?
Well, besides the thank you to not only you, but everyone participating today, I think this is a super cool event. It's fun to be a part of something that can spread the good word of what Gravity Forms can do to help you no matter where you're at, whether you're small business, enterprise level, doing it yourself. It's a ton of work to do all this. So thank you in advance, Matt, as the summit continues for all that you're putting in. And to all of our following guests, thank you as well. I'm looking forward to hearing more about what everyone's got to say today. Thanks, man.
Nice shirt, by the way. Before we go dip into the ad block, what tools would you suggest to configure looks on the form background buttons? For example, the Gravity Form upload button. Can the button be changed to an icon instead of wording? Great feedback. IndoJive, if you are using our latest version of Gravity Forms, the orbital theme, you have to just click. It was in the presentation. If once the stream is over, go back, watch the presentation. Orbital theme, look that up in our docs. You can switch the look and feel of the form, the button color, font sizes, padding, etc. No icon yet, but that's great feedback. I'm sure the team will write that down. If you use the group block, which is default in WordPress, in the WordPress editor, you can put your form in that and then style around the form, as I put in my non-technical terms. So check that out. The recording will be live on our channel. We're going to go to ad break. Man, I feel like a radio DJ. This is this is amazing. All right, everybody. We'll see you on the flip side. 5 minutes of break. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.
We're going to go to ad break as soon as I figure out how to go to ad break. Here we go. Hey there, viewer. While I have you, I would be remiss if I didn't promote the Breakdown podcast. A Gravity Forms podcast is the podcast that I host every 2 weeks here at Gravity Forms. Go to gravityforms.com/breakdown, or in your favorite podcasting app on your phone, search for Breakdown Gravity Forms in your favorite podcast app and tune in every 2 weeks. What we're doing is we're having conversations with folks from around the Gravity Forms ecosystem, some behind the scenes stuff with how this product is being made here at Gravity Forms. And then we're taking some really interesting use cases and bringing that to light. We're talking about how people are using our add-ons, how we're using ChatGPT, how they're using Zapier to connect up to a bunch of different services, lead gen, donations, payments, all the stuff happens inside Breakdown every 2 weeks. Make sure you search and subscribe, follow the podcast in your favorite app. Let me play a trailer while we wait for our next guest to arrive.
Hello, I'm glad you're able to make it to this Gravity Summit today. I'm Jamie Osler, and in this presentation we'll be taking a look at GravityFlow, how it can help you build efficient business processes for your customers in WordPress, and hopefully more sticky or recurring revenue for your business. For those who aren't already familiar with GravityFlow, I'd like to start with a quick rundown of how you or your resources interact with it on a WordPress website with Gravity Forms and GravityFlow installed. GravityFlow focuses on what happens after a Gravity form is submitted. The entry will proceed through a series of steps, either assigned to people to complete or a system such as an email, API, or other web service to process. Regardless of you or your team's time, skill, or preference for code, there are elements of a workflow built with GravityFlow that you'll find easy to work with. GravityFlow can be a strong tool in your toolkit for working with a wide variety of industries or use cases, from helping businesses that still might be emailing Excel files or attachments around their organization, to customer-facing processes that need a highly branded experience, to nonprofits that require multiple levels of approvals or potentially long and detailed review cycles. As you'll see in this session, when you can understand the process as a series of steps, it becomes quite simple to implement and for users to complete. Steps come in two flavors with GravityFlow. The first are user interactive steps, which require a person to make a decision to complete. The approval or user input steps, which come with GravityFlow, let an assigned person see certain fields of data and potentially edit others. After every step, GravityFlow is moving the workflow forward, following the workflow structure you define. Each step in a workflow can have settings unique to it, but interactive steps all share the option for these ones in common. You can set the assignee and the assignee policy for how many of them must complete the step, whether they're a WordPress user, role, based on an email stored in an email field of the form. The notification settings control if they should receive an email when the step starts or at any other milestones, while the editable or display field settings and instructions combine to control what they see when they get to the entry details page. If you're familiar with setting up conditional logic for fields, the settings for if a step should occur, how long they have to complete it, and what step will happen next will look very familiar. In contrast, non-interactive steps such as notifications, updating users, or outgoing webhooks are all actioned instantaneously when the entry arrives at that step in the workflow. These are a big opportunity to create a process that runs like clockwork, but for your customers' customers, might feel like each message or interaction they have is highly personalized. The non-interactive steps share many of the same step settings as interactive ones, such as conditional logic and scheduling. But as this screenshot from an outgoing webhook shows, they'll have more of a focus on what data is being sent between systems. One of the key features I like to highlight with the outgoing webhook step is how powerful it is that you can map the values from an API response back into the entry without requiring any code. That means that subsequent steps could incorporate that data into their notifications or conditions on whether to start. While an entry is only ever on one active step at a time, the overall workflow can feel very far from linear. In addition to the many step types that come with GravityFlow out of the box, there are several other locations that you can get additional ones. Some, such as with any feed-based add-on from Gravity Forms, will show up the first time you try to add a step in a workflow if you already have the add-on active. The same is true for a number of Certified Developer Add-Ons that you'll be hearing from in other sessions in this summit. If you've built Gravity Forms-based sites that use a hook like gform after submission to reprioritize feed order or execute custom code specific to a customer environment, you'll find the drag and drop method to organize your workflow a real treat. GravityFlow also has several extensions that bring different step types into your environment. In the bulk of this session, I'll be highlighting how the form connector can let you stitch together multiple separate forms with their own workflows into one cohesive business process that can run different entries through concurrent actions. Each of these extensions adds to the flexibility of how you can leverage GravityFlow to support your customers' diverse and complex needs. And if all of those pre-built options don't provide you exactly what you need, the step framework from GravityFlow provides a very simple way to create your own. At a minimum, you just need to define the type, label, and what should happen through its process function when the entry gets to the step in the workflow. Let's take a quick example here that might help. Imagine if you have a form with a drop-down field, and what an assignee selects on a user input step should determine what step happens next. In creating a custom step for this, you would need to create two settings. The first is to define what drop-down field should be selected, and then the second is for each choice from that drop-down field, what the next step in the workflow should move to. The process function is basically going to be a switch statement in code, but now you've built a nonlinear routing capability based on entry data that you can drop into any form or workflow. All of the steps that you use in GravityFlow are fundamentally built off this same framework class, regardless of how simple or complex their interactions are. That's a lot of detail about configuring the steps and workflows, but what's the actual user experience like? Well, on the WordPress admin dashboard, you'll see a workflow section which has two primary pages, inbox and status. The inbox will show the current logged in users the entries that are on steps currently assigned to them, regardless of form. As soon as they complete that step, the entry wouldn't show up in their inbox unless they happen to be assignee on a subsequent step. The status page is more like a historical view, changing based on the user's capabilities to either show their own submitted entries or all entries for all forms. For interacting with entries on the front end of the site, there are blocks and shortcodes that largely follow the patterns of the inbox and status pages of the dashboard. The difference here is that the settings allow you to limit the page to a specific form or forms and what UI elements would be included on the page. So a page focused on a true customer might not include the timeline or current assignee information, while a page that is where your staff access a particular help desk might include more of that contextual information. As much as we all might wish that email was not a necessity, we know it is. So when you set up notifications, there's some new merge tags you can use to ensure the resource receives the right information, and if they have a step assigned, the links that will include to take them directly to the entry for action. Whichever path they take, ultimately the user will arrive at the entry details page. Here, GravityFlow is evaluating all the step settings, the workflow status, entry data, block settings, and more to determine what view of the entry should be presented and if or how the user can interact with it. As the entry moves through the workflow, what the entry details page looks like will be changing. So, as you're meeting with potential customers, if you hear them talking about what effort they go through working with entries after they've been submitted into the Gravity form, or whatever forms-based solution they're currently using, that's a strong indicator that GravityFlow could be a good fit for a next project. It's also a good indicator that this type of project could be a good one for sticky services or recurring revenue for your agency. Whether you price your engagements based on a fixed price model, time savings for the customer gains by transformation, or something of a retainer model, they will come to recognize that you view their success as your success. For the rest of this session, I want to dive into a deep, tangible example. When I was on the Breakdown podcast with Matt Medeiros at the end of August, he told a story from his days as an agency owner about how much custom code he had to bash into WordPress and Gravity forms to build out a wedding planner. Since Matt is acting as an MC for this summit series, I figured it'd be a good use case to compare when armed with the flexibility of GravityFlow and its form connector extension in particular. So, what might the business requirements for this wedding planner website look like? Well, we know the potential is going to submit a form. And as it's a high-value touch client, let's make an assumption that any other steps besides payment will be ones where the staff are the assignees, not the potential customer. The staff would need to be getting quotes from multiple vendors and probably arranging the different services concurrently. They can't wait to finish booking a florist before they start to be contacting caterers. Ultimately, our planner staff will put together the overall wedding plan and hopefully have the soon-to-be-married couple providing payment. Perhaps when they approach our agency, they've already got an initial form built, but they then take everything offline to Excel or manual emails or phone calls. Since we want concurrency in each service offering, we would split each service out into its own form that can have its own workflow. The form connector has a new entry step type that lets us map specific fields of data from one entry into a different form and its fields. Here, you can use conditional logic to have GravityFlow determine if an entry should be created based on the services the customer indicated they need. In each case, it's a different form being mapped into, but the entry IDs are stored in both to make reconciling entry data later in the workflow a snap. Weddings are all about presentation and those lovely little details. So we use an inbox on the front end of our site for staff and vendors to access their assigned entries. Here, in the block settings, we're filtering down to a subset of planning request forms to present. Maybe a future project with them could focus on wedding day checklists to confirm our staff and vendors are doing what they were quoted or expected to, and we don't want those showing up here. Now, our first interactive step in the overall business process would be for a service planner to determine more about the engaged couple's needs for that service type, flowers, catering, photographers, etc. The step settings let us choose planner as a role and which fields they should be able to edit or display. Compare this to having everything on one massive form that staff need to scroll past the parts that don't apply to them, That's a usability win for sure. So is being able to have specific step instructions and the option to save progress if they can't collect everything in one meeting with the bride and groom. Since we expect the staff to be accessing their inbox regularly, we won't bother with the email notifications on this step. But with vendors that wouldn't be here as often, that email is going to be critical to success. With the Form Connector's form submission step, you can map data into different fields and each assignee gets a unique URL. If you're already working with Gravity Forms and use redirects with query string key value pairs to stitch together multiple forms, and your customers are encountering challenges of lost emails, this is a functionality gain both because the emails can have reminders configured in Gravity Flow, and they can see that their assigned tasks are in their inbox too. As we'll have many potential vendors sending in quotes, we can use the combination of the assignee policy set to all and the expiration setting to leave the form submission step open for 14 days. Or, if all vendors have replied by then, it moves on to the next step. That performance gain can be the difference between a wedding package successfully sold or not. The planner staff don't have to go looking if new entries have come in. Just check their inbox. The vendor quote is in a wholly separate form, but has the essential details mapped into display-only fields for the staff to decide if they want to approve or reject or not. As we look at the step settings for this approval step, there's a good example of how an automated process can still have a very personal touch. With the workflow note setting being set to required if rejected, in the rejection email that we have activated, whenever we place the workflow note merge tag, it'll get replaced with a justification the planner puts into the entry details screen to share back to the vendor. Okay, so let's take a quick step back for a minute here. We started with this very high-level view of what we thought the wedding planning process could require, and we've got about half of that working. But if we map this into a different view, like this swim lane diagram, we can see how much complexity is already built in across multiple users and roles interacting with multiple forms entries. The individual steps are relatively simple, but the way in which you combine them to solve complex business challenges is where Gravity Flow shows its automation strengths. Let's see if we can finish up connecting the approved vendor quotes to produce the services package for our happy couple to decide on. To do that, we'll use another form connector step type, update an entry. Again, with conditional logic ensuring the step only executes for the right service type and previous approval step status combination, we define the form, field the entry ID was stored in, and what fields of data should be mapped back to the service entry. For the developers watching, this is a good example of where you can tailor that user experience that Gravity Flow provides through hooks. There are two approaches for how I considered to display the approved vendor quote details into this entry details page for the service entry. One option was a custom merge tag to display them with links as part of the instructions field, or using one of the form connector filters to map the vendor and quote information into a discussion field comment, along with the actual quote materials into a multi-file upload field. Both would provide the assignee with the information to easily make decisions or do their job, and be examples of small value adds that you can highlight to your clients about how you can make their application unique to them. But at the same time, that approach or code snippet can easily be tailored to many different customer environments. Did you notice that on the form connector update and entry step type settings screens earlier, there was a setting for action? In addition to being able to map data between entries, it can also be used to mark approval steps that other entries are on in their workflows as either approved or rejected. So in this wedding planner example, the main request form after creating the service entries really had nothing to do until all the respective workflows are complete. So if it's assigned to a separate user account in an approval step, each update and entry step could potentially be the last to complete and the one that gets the main entry's workflow back on track towards the most important part, payment. I've already set up approval steps earlier in this session, so let's jump forward to configuring that payment opportunity for our customer. The Gravity Forms Stripe add-on takes care of the heavy lifting of authenticating to the customer's Stripe account, and then we would define a payment feed as shown on the left here. When we set up a Stripe payment form checkout step, the workflow entry link we put in the email setting will generate that link for the newlyweds provided email address. When they open the link, we've configured it to show them a minor amount of the details along with the link to their wedding package and payment button. This pattern for payments is just one of several that the Stripe extensions for Gravity Flow offers to fit a variety of potential use cases. Let's take one last look at the swim lane diagram of what we've managed to build out for this wedding planning product. At the highest level view, it seems quite complex with different assignee rows, conditional steps, and arrows trying to communicate who needs to do what and when. But when you drill down to an individual step in the workflow, it's pretty straightforward to understand. Who or what system is assigned the current step? What data do they need to see or provide to complete the task? What notifications or instructions should be provided to help them? And what happens next? The engine of GravityFlow that's powering the business process is taking care of all of that complexity for you and your customers. So as I wrap up this session, I hope you have a better understanding of how you can use GravityFlow to help your customers make their businesses more efficient and increase your recurring revenue as they seek to automate more of their business with you. If you want to try out this workflow for yourself or GravityFlow as a whole, with this Gravity Summit, we're launching a whole new GravityFlow demo environment that you can test out for free for 14 days. We've got more than a dozen examples to help you understand how powerful it can be for your agency to grow with GravityFlow.
Jamie, thanks for that wonderful. Well, hold on. Studio lights went off. Let me put the studio lights on. I try to save the battery. This little pro tip in the back, if you want to highlight your background, just have a little LED light there. Jamie, thanks for that fantastic breakdown, no pun intended, of GravityFlow and using my example of the wedding planner situation, which I built, which feels like in tech terms 100 years ago. And it was just like thinking back to that and seeing how easy GravityFlow, like think about all the code and everything we went through to build a planner back then using Gravity Forms, and now seeing like what you can do with GravityFlow, it's mind-boggling. So thanks for making such a great product.
I have played a part in that, but the rest of the team has a lot of the heavy lifting. But it's that I look at the product in the same way as an agency might with their environment. They're relying on the tools to allow them to build things more efficiently. And the better that Gravity Forms and GravityFlow get, the more our customers can do. So yeah. I'm always excited in whether it's in the community forum, a support ticket, or something that people ask us a question of, can it do this? Because if it can't right now, we're definitely going to be working on finding a way that is allowing them something that's easy to set up so they can help their customers with it in the future.
Yeah. A lot of the folks in the audience right now, and again, here we are at the heading up the end of the GravityFlow presentation by Jamie. If you have any questions about GravityFlow and you want to have Jamie, you have him right now. He's here. It was like when Jamie was in the WordCamp US booth. Like, oh, you want to know? He's right there at the computer. Go see him. He's going to show you how to do it. If you have those questions about GravityFlow, go ahead and drop them in the chat. We'll link them up and get those answered for you. WordPress businesses, WordPress agencies, building out these stickier solutions for customers. GravityFlow is well positioned for that. Help me understand, or help the audience understand, like automated versus human interaction. Like, where are those moments really good for GravityFlow to, I mean, I know you just presented it, but let's restate it. We have automation, things that happen automatically behind the scenes, Zapier-esque with GravityFlow. But then there are things where humans need to, we can't give it all to AI and automation yet. Humans need to interact. They need to look at something, understand it, send a note back, hit approve. Where do those lines, how are those lines clearly defined, at least in your mind with GravityFlow?
Yep. So it's definitely the user input step and the approval step are the two core ones that are interactive in that case. You're choosing who it is that you're assigning that step to, whether it's a WordPress user, a role, an email field that they've submitted, so that those can be slotted in between automation things. So if you have something that you want to generate a PDF, make an API call out to Salesforce, and then when you get that data back into the entry, you want to then decide, should I do some, A or B with this thing? That approval step gives the assignee the chance to make that choice. So you definitely can stitch together a workflow that is a mix of automated and interactive steps where it's appropriate. You also, the thing I showed a little bit in one of the examples is the expiration. If it's not a critical decision of the person has to make this choice, but there's an opportunity for them to modify, you can give them 2 days if you configure it that way. And if they don't respond, the workflow just continues on, and you could take another path that says, let's send it to their manager or something else to customize.
There's a component of GravityFlow. Sorry, I'm just going to pull it up on the screen to share. explain to us the component, because I think what really makes it click, for me anyway, and you, again, you did demo it, so those that missed it, go back. When this is done recording, it'll be on the YouTube channel. There's a component of front end, air quotes, front end for Gravity Flow. What's the context of front end? How do people interact? Does this mean that you can have people approve and interact with these workflows without having access to the WordPress admin dashboard? Explain us front end in Gravity Flow.
Yep. So while there is the option to get to everything through the dashboard, I'd say more common use cases for customer environments is where they do want to see that choice or those interactions on the front end. So the wedding planner example, the vendors, you're never going to have them log into your dashboard. So you create a page that has the Gravity Flow inbox block on it. You can brand that with as much sort of help content as you need for the vendors, or if it's a highly branded one, sort of the design aesthetic with it. And anytime they log in with their WordPress user, or if you've got any kind of single sign-on solution with your WordPress website, they'll just see the entries that are assigned to them. And when they click on those, they can choose to action that particular one. So to them, and even with some of the customers that I've built through Gravity Experts, they just refer it to, I'm going to my website. They don't know in the back end that it's Gravity Forms, Flow, or anything else powering it. They just see that their website is giving them the option to make a decision on this entry. And then when they do, the next steps in the workflow happen behind the scenes.
Trying to put myself back in my freelancer agency days, thinking of the different use cases. One of the sessions coming up actually next with TL from Cosmic Giant, we're going to be talking about signing lease agreements, or any kind of PDF document. And I remember, when I first started my agency, and still to this day, 2023, I look around, I'm like, why don't real estate agents have great websites? So, I mean, I know the reason now, but back then...
Fax machines?
What's that?
Fax machines?
Yeah, fax machines. Yeah. I know the reason now, but back then I was like, listen, I'm going to go after real estate agents as a freelancer. Like, 'cause certainly you want a great looking website. And then what I found was, of course, MLS, MDX, like all these integrations and data. But I think in today's day and age with, let's say, Airbnb, or just like rental properties and just other areas, other pockets of real estate that require many parties, right? A seller, a buyer, intermediary, property management. Like, you can build some really complex stuff, because to this day, like, people are still printing out reams of paper to do things with like real estate. Or put yourself, look at any other industry that might do that. Sales, any kind of sales has all this stuff that happens. Insurance claims, government, my God, there's so much stuff that could be optimized in the flow, no pun intended, of all of this stuff. You could really find yourself carving out almost like a SaaS app, I would say. Like, you could be this provider of a very unique solution that only you've built. You could go to your customer and say, hey, this is all done for you. This is a turnkey solution. I built it all with WordPress, Gravity Forms, Gravity Flow. Here you go. Check this out. It puts you in a whole different world of just, I'm a person who builds websites.
Well, the neat thing in what you touched on there, if they're using an Airbnb or any other system that's taking their percentage market share, if they've gotten up to a point that customer's business wants to self-host, you can pitch to them, you're getting that 30% back by having this self-hosted. It's also something, as you were alluding to, if the agency is building the platform, they can be getting that 30% revenue from their customers by building it. And so Gravity Flow, if you're positioning yourself as the SaaS provider or wanting to transition off, there's a good migration story to how you build up that with a self-hosted solution. Yeah.
Once again, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. We have about a minute left here. We're going to go to ad break, and then our next guest, like I mentioned, will be TL signing lease agreement. Travis Lopes from Cosmic Giant will be signing lease agreements with Gravity Forms, which is a great combination to this, which we just mentioned. In fact, when we were talking about the nonprofit websites, somebody had asked about doing check payments. Like there's a bunch of things that you could do with Gravity Flow. Here's the big question. I talked to you about this on Breakdown podcast when I interviewed you. I hear automation, I hear Gravity Flow. My mind immediately goes to Zapier with this stuff. Not quite Zapier. How do you frame the Gravity Flow versus Zapier discussion when it comes up in your world?
There is a add-on that Gravity Forms provides for Zapier. You can choose to have those trigger through a Gravity Flow step. The transaction cost or per Zap cost may not be something that you're extremely satisfied with. So for any of the things that Gravity Forms and Flow provide add-ons to do, whether that's Stripe or any of the other add-ons that you'll see throughout the rest of this session, those can be done directly through Gravity Flow. So you can be saving yourself that per Zap cost. If there's a connector that Zapier has that Forms and Flow don't, then you can continue to build that way. So it's not an either or. They complement each other very well. And I know that the Gravity Forms team is working on some other more ambitious add-ons now that will make that an even easier decision for some of the environments that work with large SaaS, and they have a lot of customers' data going into a CRM. They'll have more flexibility with Gravity Forms in the very near future.
Jamie, if folks want to interact with you, if they're an agency and they say, hey, we've got this complex project, we know how to spec it, but we might not know how to deliver it or put the pieces of the puzzle together, how can they get in touch with you?
There's 3 different ways. Easiest, Gravity Flow pre-sales. Drop in a question. Either myself or one of my awesome colleagues will easily be able to answer and give you that kind of rough outline for things. If they're looking for more of a paid consulting engagement, gravityexperts.com. We do different approaches, whether it's a direct customer or agency consulting pattern. And then there's also the community forum that myself and a bunch of others that have deep Gravity Flow knowledge. Happy to answer a little bit more of here are the building blocks that we would see might fit for that scenario. And then they can go off and continue that build pattern themselves where it makes sense.
I like how you framed, I actually meant to say this before I prompt you with that final question. I like how you framed the lowering Zapier cost because Zapier prices are going up. I mean, my God, everything is going up, including Zapier, which wasn't a surprise. Like, I mean, you see something as amazing as that platform is, if you rewind the clock like 5 years ago, like, oh my God, this is amazing. And it's free. And then it's like, oh, it's $10 a month, then it's $30 a month. And now it's like $150 a month to like do something that you did 5 years ago. So I like that if you have these large scale solutions that are leveraging Zapier and your costs and not just Zapier, but I think is it make.com now? And if this, then that. And there's all these like automation platforms, like all the costs, going up. This is a great way to bring that data in-house, lower those per Zap or per request costs. It is a fantastic tool for that. Again, Jamie, thanks for hanging out today. If you have never heard of Gravity Flow before and you want to try it out, guess what? Next week, 50.
No, right. Oh, sorry.
Right now?
The demo is online. Right. I thought that's where you were going.
You're stealing my thunder, Jamie. I have an ad spot for that. 50% off next week. And we're going to see that ad right now. Everybody, thanks for hanging out. This is the Gravity Forms Summit, first time ever virtual half-day summit. Maybe next year, if you all like it, we'll do a full-day summit, God help me. And we'll do that in 2024. If you like what you're seeing so far, thumbs up the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, share this link on social media if you're watching on YouTube. Share it on Zitter, X, Twitter, is that how you say that? And then Facebook or wherever else you do your social media. We're going for a break. TL from Cosmic Giant. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks for hanging out with us today.
Cheers, man.
Thanks for watching today's summit. I hope you're excited for all of the content that you get to watch today. But I wanted to let you know about the Black Friday sale happening at gravityforms.com. Starting next week, you can enjoy 50% off our Elite license plan, our Pro license plan, and our Basic license plan. If you don't own a license of Gravity Forms now, it's the perfect time to jump into this fantastic Gravity Forms ecosystem. You're going to hear a lot more about that in the rest of today's summit with a lot of our guests, a lot of our speakers. You You can do a lot with Gravity Forms, including all the examples I'm going to show you today. So if you want to save 50% off, head to gravityforms.com next week. No coupon code needed. You can just go right to our website and get that 50% off right by checking out. Also, you're going to hear from Jamie Osler in a moment talking about Gravity Flow, how to create these more sticky situations for your clients. In other words, they're going to be better clients for you. They're going to stay with you because you're going to build them some pretty rich sort of apps and interfaces with Gravity Forms and Gravity Flow. You can now get Gravity Flow next week for 50% off as well. No coupon code needed. Head to gravityforms.com during our Black Friday special. It's going to be throughout the week, so go ahead, jump on that, and get 50% off your Gravity Forms and Gravity Flow licenses. Thanks for watching today's summit. Hope you really enjoy it. And yeah, we'll see you at the end of the summit. Thanks for watching. 50% off next week, Black Friday sale. Go get it. It's the best deal in WordPress. How about that? We're back, and we're going to get ready for TL, who's going to now talk to us about signing lease agreements on your website. I just had a question come through the chat asking, hey, have I missed the how to find opportunity in my WordPress agency through these discussions? All of the content is framed in that context. If you're a freelancer agency owner and you want to see the opportunities in this stuff, That's how all of this is being framed, how you can leverage this in these specific products in your business. Let's get into Cosmic Giant. Our next, enjoyed the presentation from Jamie and all things Gravity Flow. We have Travis Lopes from Cosmic Giant. He's going to show you how you can discover a new agency niche with PDF signing and all the things that Cosmic Giant has to offer. Travis, welcome.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for having me, Matt. And thank you once again for organizing this whole Gravity Form Summit. I think it's very important to get a lot of us together and really educate the customer base out there about all the different ways you can use Gravity Forms, not just in general, but ways to deploy it within your agency projects.
You got it. The idea goes to Zach Katz. Thanks, Zach, if you're watching. Zach is in a couple segments from you, but here's Travis. He's going to tell you who Cosmic Giant is.
Yeah, so Cosmic Giant, I launched it in 2017 while I was working at Rocket Genius. It initially started, the first product suite came from client projects I was working on at the time. I did about 3 or 4 different ones with various use cases, but they all stemmed from client work, and I could see the potential amongst all of them of like, this is not something that's needed just for the specific client. Like, this could be great for the Gravity Forms user base at large. So I took those, I revised them a bit to make them a little more customizable and easy to approach for anybody out there, and launched the product suite. And over time, that's evolved from being a mix of front-end products and automation stuff to being a fully focused suite that's on automations that expedite getting submission data into and out of Gravity Forms. And that ranges from entry automation that's fully about data automation, whether it's deleting entries or specific field data on a schedule, creating automated reports, or sending out save and continue reminders to make sure people are finishing their forms, to fillable PDFs and legal signing that allow you to generate PDFs, both just standard generated PDFs or legally binding signed contracts. And then there's also advanced submissions that lets you get into the nitty-gritty of setting permissions around Gravity Forms that are at the form level, so you can control who has access to specific settings and to specific data. The Cosmic Giant, there's a core 3 of us. Myself, I'm the head of product and business development. Carl is our head of customer success and support, and Joran is our head of engineering. Between the 3 of us, we were all former Rocket Genius employees, so we have a combined 15 years of experience both working directly on Gravity Forms and the add-ons itself and supporting them. So we have a very in-depth knowledge both of the product and how people like to use it. So I wanted to talk about, before we launched into the legal signing demo, kind of like the industries we typically work in. So first, there's digital agencies. Like I mentioned before, you can create automated reports on client sites. If, like, one thing we see often is there's people who will buy an entry automation agency license, and they will roll out like 100 different like real estate like landing sites for realtors they work with. And a great way to use entry automation there is to set up automated reports of like, hey, here's all these leads coming in. Let's like set up like a weekly catch-all email, whether that's in a CSV, an Excel file, or even just a straight up email. Like, you can collect all those notification emails instead of like having a deluge of them all through the week, just like a nice collected digest of like all your incoming leads. There's also a fantastic use case for advanced permissions is with digital agencies. Now, Matt, I know you've done a decent amount of client work before, and I know you've probably created some pretty crazy forms on some client sites with some very intricate setups where, like, if the client even like opens a form editor and like looks the wrong way at the form, like everything's going to go awry.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. And so you want to be able to control, like, you don't want the client to mess that up, because it's going to, like, they're all of a sudden going to freak out. They're going to send an email at 8 p.m. at night on a Friday and be like, my site's broken. And you're like, why did you touch it? But you don't want them to not be able to interact with Gravity Forms at all. Like, say if there's like a basic contact form on the site, like they can go in and mess with that, or they can create new forms on the site. So this is like a crazy great use case for advanced permissions. So with advanced permissions, like, you can, like I mentioned before, you can set permissions within Gravity Forms on a form level basis. So what you can do is, on those more complex forms you have set up, like a mortgage application form, or stuff that has like deep integrations with Stripe or Zapier that, like, if anything got messed with it, it causes a problem. You can say, hey, on these forms, I don't want the client to be able to mess with like those specific feed settings or being able to edit the form at all. But on the rest of the site, like, they can manage whatever they need to in Gravity Forms, because that stuff is not as intricate. So advanced permissions really let you focus in and like prevent either clients or like other users on the site from accessing stuff that they shouldn't within Gravity Forms. We also operate like a lot in the financial services space. Fillable PDFs is great for being able to fill out like standard applications, whether that's IRS tax forms. You could like automate that at tax season, so you don't have to have an accountant handle all those. You can create credit applications. In the human resources space, if you wanted to fill out employment applications, signing up estates and wills, like anything that could be in a PDF, fillable PDFs can handle very easily and very well. And making sure that those documents are generated in a way that you expect, because we're using existing PDFs as templates, they will always appear the way you expect them to. Like, there won't be like any HTML that will like maybe like find its way in or make like the length dynamic. And it's like very easy to set up, because you don't need that HTML or PHP experience to set up a custom PDF template. It's just like, if you know how to use Adobe Acrobat and can like throw some interactive fields in that PDF, you are good to go and like can get started within 10 minutes. And then the last industry to highlight, and what the focus of the demo will be today, is real estate, and specifically being able to create leasing agreements that can be signed by both the tenant and the landlord right on the site without needing to use DocuSign, which can get very expensive and can make for not a great user experience, because you can do that intake for a contract that needs to be signed on Gravity Forms. But if you're passing that off to DocuSign, then the end user has to go back and forth from their inbox to DocuSign, and then the final DocuSign document, you have to find a way to attach it to that lead somehow. By using legal signing in Gravity Forms, you're keeping it all on site. You're keeping all the lead data together, and you're reducing the costs overall.
I remember in my agency, I think like what a lot of this stuff translates to is finding stickier clients, finding clients that value the work that you put out as an agency owner, right? So we're always looking to, not just increase revenue for the sake of increasing revenue, which is obviously great for business, but always not the end goal or even the right way to proceed. But you find clients that say, I want to build this platform for my brand, starting with WordPress, using Gravity Forms at the core of its like technical function, right? The heartbeat of like automation, inputting data, exporting data, connecting data to other sources, PDFs, like we're going to demo here today. But when I remember being the agency owner and saying, my early years going, oh my God, real estate websites are terrible. Restaurant websites are terrible. Why are all these business owners, there are so many of you out there, have such terrible websites? Well, what you learn as an agency owner, sometimes the hard way, is that this plethora of opportunity sometimes means that business owner doesn't value the time and effort it takes to put together a website. Restaurant owners, I can sort of relate to, have some compassion with, because they're generally the ones in the back of the kitchen working 70 hours a week. And then you knock on their door and you say, hey, I got to build you a website. They're like, I got no time to do this. Please leave. But real estate agents, they have more time. They should have more time to stand out and be a brand. But there are those that don't. And I remember those clients being kind of difficult to work with and to get them to understand value. But if you're connecting a core feature like lease agreement signing, well, now you can kind of look at that industry and say, well, maybe I shouldn't focus on all real estate agents, but maybe I should focus on, agents that are helping their clients lease properties in high-end vacation homes, right? So Travis, you used to live kind of near where I live, Newport, Rhode Island, massive vacation spot, tourist spot, mansions, multi-million-dollar mansions that are out there, prime to go in and say, hey, look, if you're a high-end agent and you're leasing these properties during the summertime, wouldn't it be fantastic if that was all done under your brand, all on the same website? And then I can show you how to streamline the rest of the back end of your of the house with PDF signing and like automations that happens after Gravity Flow entries come in. So I think a lot of this stuff translates to finding that better client for you, the agency owner or freelancer.
Okay, so yeah, let's take a look at signing leasing agreements with legal signing. So right here, for the purposes of this demo, I just grabbed a generic residential leasing agreement for California. It has all the standard like legalese within it. But the key items are at the bottom on the last page of the PDF, which are the fields to contain the signature for the landlord, the date that the landlord signed it, along with a space for the tenant's signature, their name, and the date that they also signed. If we pop over here, we are within the legal signing plugin. This is in the plugin setting area where you can like put in your license key, upload your PDF templates, import a PDF, which takes a form and detects, or it takes a PDF rather, and it detects any fields within that PDF and automatically translates that into the Gravity Forms field so you can be up and running with a form based on your PDF within minutes. So I've gone ahead and taken that leasing agreement that you just saw and I uploaded as a template. And then I have created, there's two forms I've created, one being a leasing agreement and then a multiple page one that we'll take a look at toward the end. So if we take a look here at the lease agreement form, you'll see there's a few fields in here. This first one is an HTML block field. And within the contents of the HTML block, I just took the contents of that lease agreement and put it within with some paragraph tags and some bold tags to make it look a little nice, and put it here so that way the tenant and the landlord, when they are both going through this signing process, are able to see what they are signing and agreeing to. And also in the form, we have the name field, the email, phone, signature, and date fields for the tenant, along with the signature and date fields for the landlord, along with a legal consent field that all signers will need to sign. That just says that they understand that they are conducting business electronically and that this document that they are signing, they understand it's legally binding. One thing I do want to point out here is the signature field. So legal signing does work with the Gravity Forms signature add-on, which is available for all licensed customers to populate a signature into the signed document. We also offer with legal signing on all the pricing tiers is our own legal signature field. So this is more of what you would expect from when you're assigning on one of those e-signatures platforms like a DocuSign, a HelloSign, where you can click to sign and then it pop opens a modal, and then the end user is able to either draw their signature, they can type it in, they can cycle through a couple different font options. So that's a feature add that is available through legal signing. So if we go over into our form settings and we go into the legal signing tab, you'll see I've gone ahead and set up a legal signing feed for this lease agreement. Inside that feed, the lease agreement template has already been selected. And if I go in here to map fields, you can see within the map fields editor, you see the full document, the full PDF for every single page. And if we go down to that last page, where we have those PDF fields, you'll see them visually in the mapper where you can just go ahead and click. And in the right hand here, you'll be able to map it to a form field. You'll have a drop down where you can see all the options. And it's very easy to just get in there and sign up, or set up rather, what fields belong to which PDF fields. I've also gone ahead and set up the file name to be lease agreement along with the last and first name of the tenant. And the notifications I've selected for the PDF to automatically be attached to are the admin and tenant notifications. And we'll look at those in a second. So what really sets legal signing apart and where you kind of get into the signing portion of it is the signing workflow feature within the legal signing feed. I have gone ahead and enabled the signing workflow, and I've set up two signers on the form. The first is sourced from the email form field, and that is the tenant. And then the second is just sourced from an email address, and I've sent, like, this will be the landlord. And this Each signer can either be just a straight up email address, that's just a static one that you put in there. It can be a WordPress user on the site, or it can be sourced from an email form field, and that will be used as the email address for that signer. Then if we scroll down here to the form field assignment, you can see all the different form fields, and you can go in for each of them and select, like for instance, tenant name here. I've automatically mapped the tenant as the signer for that field. Each field can be assigned to multiple signers, and only the fields that a signer is assigned to can they change the values of. And then I've gone ahead and hidden any fields that don't belong to the current signer from the other signer, so they aren't able to see that. You can also optionally attach an audit trail to the final generated PDF that will show like every step within the process of when each person signed the form, when they received an email saying that it's time for them to sign, along with what time they initially viewed the form. If we go over to the confirmations for that form, you'll see the default confirmation that will be displayed when the form is submitted, but also 2 additional confirmations for when the first signer fills out the form to let them know that they need to go into their email and check for a message that they need to click a link that just verifies their identity, that the person that filled out the form and put in that email address is actually who it is. And then you can see in our notifications as well, we have the standard admin notification. We have the notification that will go to the tenant that says, hey, your lease agreement has been signed, and both of those will receive the generated PDF lease agreement. And then you also have the initial signatory verification, which is that email I just mentioned where the first signer needs to go in and click verify their identity, along with the ready for signing notification, which will go to the subsequent signers, in this case, the landlord, to let them know that it is their turn to sign the lease agreement. So we'll go ahead over here. I have a page with that form already embedded. As you can see, we have the little HTML box here containing the terms of the contract in a nice little scrollable box. I've gone ahead and pre-filled in the name and the email address for this signer. And if I go ahead and click the click to sign button, the mode will pop up, and you can see we can either draw in our signature like this, or we can type it in. So I'll go ahead and type in that tenant's name. We can cycle through fonts to decide which one is the right option. We'll go ahead and click adopt and sign. For the date sign, we'll go ahead and put today's date, and we will agree to the terms and conditions. Now that the tenant has filled out the form, they will receive an email with a link to click and finish signing. So once they do that, the landlord will get a link themselves. They will go, which will prompt them to fill out that same form. They won't see the fields that the tenant already filled out. They'll just see the fields to capture their signature and the current date that they're signing. And then once the landlord has finished submitting the form, the PDF will be generated. And as we can see here in the generated PDF, it's that standard lease agreement that we saw at the beginning, but at the bottom, it contains their 2 signatures, their names, and the dates that they signed. And one other thing I wanted to highlight with the lease agreement flow is that you can break that out into multiple pages. So as you can see, I just took the contract and I shortened it up a little bit with this HTML box. And then we'll go ahead and click to sign here as the tenant. I'll go ahead and put my name in, adopt to sign. As I click next to go to the next page, you'll see that I set up another section of the contract to see and review here, as you would like when signing a contract in something like DocuSign. But different from the Gravity Forms signature field, if I just click to sign here for the signature, it's going to go ahead and adopt the signature that we created on the first place. So it gives that nice DocuSign step-through process that the tenant that would expect when filling out the form. So yeah, there's our demo of legal signing and how to sign a lease agreement right on your site.
Hey, Travis, thanks for that amazing breakdown on your product. Lots of interest from the crowd. One of the questions I get while we were watching the stream was about bringing a value to agencies and freelancers through the conversations that we've been having today. I mentioned that before we cut to your segment, and a lot of the conversation here is being framed around how you can leverage these products in your agency or freelance business. I think specifically, I talked about this with Jamie. We talked about it in our pre-recorded session here. I think the world of PDFs and taking traditional paper workflows from arcane industries and bringing them into the future, which is crazy to say in 2023, a business can be built with just your product. Like,
absolutely. And I obviously can't name names, but like I have literally seen customers of ours that literally their whole website, their whole business is purely based around fillable PDFs and what they're able to do just with that in Gravity Forms.
Raphael says, congrats to TL and all the Cosmic Giant folks. What an amazing plugin. Do you have any... Is real estate without naming names, is real estate the biggest opportunity? Like if you're an agency watching this on the sidelines, I need to niche down. Is real estate the biggest opportunity? Do you see something else that you can share with the crowd?
I mean, the legal field is just in general is great, because if you can the key with building out fillable PDF based contracts is you can put text into the fields, but they're a static length, so you have to be like a little more specific. So you kind of create your contract at the beginning to be a little more generic in terms of references to like the parties involved, and then put that information at the bottom so it can be a little more dynamic in length. But that would allow you to, reach out to a local law firm, get some generic contracts made, and like easily spin up a business.
Yeah.
Just around being able to easily create contracts with people.
Yeah. Other areas I think of that are still like antiquated, but I'm cautious to fall into the trap of like, why haven't they done this yet? It's because they're not really paying attention to it, nor do they value that work, which I think I mentioned in our conversation. But landscapers, contractors, there's a lot of opportunity there to level up their game. Like, it's fall here in New England. There's a zillion leaves falling, and I see signs and everything from local landscapers coming to like clean yards and stuff. And they come and they pitch me. And they leave like a little note. It's just like a handwritten note and stuff like that. But if you came prepared and you could show like, hey, just sign this document, or here's an outline of your property. Here's how we clean everything. Like, you can build these little micro apps that, you might go to one person to try to sell, but hey, if you went to 100 local landscapers or contractors in your area, you could be that go-to person that built this unique solution that they were like, yeah, I want this. It's going to make our business look good. And we're not building websites for you. We're building this app for you. And I think that's a really cool thing.
Especially when you take advantage of the whole ecosystem around it, because like fillable PDFs and legal signing can be just one piece of part. Like you can have a whole quote submission system that uses Gravity Flow to do approvals around the quote, that then uses the Stripe integration to collect payment for that quote, and then passes that off to fillable PDFs and legal signing to handle the signing of the quote and generating that final contract.
I have up on the screen, you didn't touch, I think you maybe mentioned it, but we didn't dive into it. Entry automation, your time save. You can go to cosmicgiant.com. That's where TL has all of his products that you can purchase today. Let me scroll to the top. You got a Black Friday sale running? Not yet. You got one coming though, right?
Yeah, starts on Monday, and you can get up to 40% off.
All right. Entry automation. Talk to us about that. How does that incorporate into the world of fillable PDFs?
So, fillable PDFs can work into entry automation a couple different ways. So with entry automation, we enable you to do automation around like 3 different action types with your Gravity Forms entries. That can be exporting entries on a schedule, and you can create different kinds of export files in several different formats that can be emailed off. And I'll also go to third-party providers like Dropbox, Google Drive, Amazon S3, and FTP. And you can include with those exports both files that have been uploaded to those form entries and the fillable PDFs that have been generated through those form submissions. Similarly, go ahead.
Yeah. No, as I say, that's fantastic.
And similarly, like with our delete entries action, you can automatically delete entry data or full entries along with fillable PDFs that were submitted if you don't need those PDF contracts to hang around for a long time on your site. And there's also the send notifications action, which allows you to send notifications for entries in a digest rather than like as they come in. And you can also use it to send reminders for people who are using the save and continue feature. If they have not come back to finish the form, you can send them a little nudge to be like, hey, don't forget to come finish this form.
Yeah. When at the top of this live stream, I did a demonstration about creating a donation form, let's say for a nonprofit, for an actual site that for a nonprofit that I'm a part of. And one of the things that there's many aspects, and listen, I'm just getting into the nonprofit world myself personally. There's a zillion things I need to learn about that industry and like running a successful nonprofit. But we use Gravity Forms for the donations, and we ran our first annual 3-on-3 basketball event for kids grades 5 to high school. But the point is we were doing ticket sales, we were doing donations. Hey, look at that. If I do that, my little thumbs down pops up.
I'm going to give this a thumbs up.
I literally just thumbs down myself. It's amazing. One of the things that we were doing is this basketball event. It needed to have a insurance waiver for all these kids. Sadly, though, I didn't have time. It was like one of these last moment things as we learn the space. But next year, fillable PDFs and setting this up on the website, because now we had to say, oh God, we have to have people write this stuff out. Yeah. And it was sort of last minute. So we had to send everybody an email and say, hey, don't forget to fill this out. Go to the website, download the form. Now we have people, like when we were setting up, there's all these people in line filling out all of their release forms.
Or if they're like trying to do it with the PDF, you did send them in the email, like different PDF apps, like handle that differently. Like it's not fun. And a lot of that information you already collected with the form that they filled out on the website.
100%.
Saves time for everybody.
Yeah, we were sort of like scrambling there at the end, but next year or the next event that we run, definitely going to use fillable PDF, have people fill it out right there when they're purchasing the tickets, right? And again, sort of demonstrating that there's a lot that you can build out in the Gravity Forms and Certified Developer and Community Add-on, third-party add-on world of Gravity Forms that makes it so great. Here's a burning question, hot seat question. Can somebody just build their own DocuSign alternative using your tools and coming up with another brand name and just stitching it all together if they're savvy?
They could attempt to, but all of the PDF operations, because of different web hosts out there, like it's difficult to get like that kind of flavor of software working on it. And because the PDF library that we use is not GPL, it cannot be redistributed. All the PDF operations go through our API servers.
Got it.
And to be clear, and all the generated PDFs are fully stored on customer sites. We never see the data. It's not logged anywhere. Like I don't want it. I have no interest in it. Yeah. We never have it. But yeah.
30 seconds left, folks. If you have a question for TL, you are watching the first ever Gravity Forms live, semi-live, live half-day summit here, helping freelancers and agencies sort of frame the solutions we have in our ecosystem to help better your business. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. We're going to continue this day. I've got a strategy, TL. I'm switching out AirPods as the battery dies.
Nice.
So, right hand, right ear, left ear, been swapping along the way here. Fantastic stuff. We're going to have Adam Pickering from the team, the product team, with some closing statements today. Zach Katz with a question. Here we go. The bonus question before we go to ad break. Zach Katz, what's the name of the cosmic giant cat?
So when we decided to have a cat logo, Yorin, our head of engineering, was freelance at the time, and she's like, "What's the name of the cat?" And I said, "Well, when you join us full time, you can name the cat." And she has yet to name it, so I'm going to defer to Yorin on this one.
Quite the politician, Travis. Travis, thanks for hanging out today. We're going to go to ad break. If you have any questions for Travis, you can find him at cosmicgiant.com.
Thanks again, Matt.
Thumbs up if you're liking the summit so far. I'm sure you do. Leave us a comment in the comment box or share it on social media. That would be fantastic. I wanted to let you know about Gravity Flow. You heard it talked about before in earlier sessions. This is a fantastic tool for those of you who are really going deep with your customers. If you're building intranet, bespoke apps, some kind of really heavily customized sales automation tool, for customers. I remember being in my agency days. We built a WordPress portal that all it was a publishing tool between these researchers. This was a big medical app. Researchers that were creating the content. They were doing all their research offline. They would come into WordPress. They would build out their reports. And then those reports would go to another portal where doctors and physicians had to actually spot check everything. It was very complex. And Gravity Flow didn't exist at the time that I built this. And this was, you would build out these approval workflows. Oh, this was the correct way, or the correct approach at research. Or there were some issues here. Let me send it back to the research/writer. You can do all these really unique automation / human interaction workflows with Gravity Flow. This means bigger clients, bigger projects. These are the situations that really build trust and value in your agency or freelance business. Here we are at gravityflow.io. You build your forms with Gravity Forms. You create custom workflows with Gravity Flow, and then you execute and optimize to make your workflows more efficient. You can run reports. You can do all kinds of really complex things. It's a fantastic tool. There's a front end interface for people to log in and see the approvals that they have to check off or apply, maybe leave some notes. A lot of great stuff inside of Gravity Flow. So if you're scratching your head, like, how can I get better clients? How can I build out more complex solutions with WordPress? Maybe Gravity Flow is your in to solve your existing client issues. Maybe you learn it a little bit deeper, and now you have something that you can bring to the table in your next proposal process. gravityflow.io. Don't forget, you can save 50% off during the Black Friday special happening next week. gravityflow.io. Let's get back to the summit.
There, my name is Kathy Zant. I am Director of Accounts at Web Dev Studios, and I am here to talk to you about how you can use Gravity Forms to jumpstart your client relationships and ease those workflows so that you can meet your customers where they're at and close more sales. Let's just jump right into it and start talking about some of these strategies and things that you can do with Gravity Forms in order to close more sales. Our goal with any sales process is to make it easier for prospects, for customers to do business with us. Our job is to remove as much friction from those initial stages of relationship with our customers so that they feel like we are a genuine part of their organization with their goals being our goals as well. Our job in account management and in business development is sales, really. It is all about building relationships and forging a bond between two companies and the people within those two companies so that we can quickly and easily close sales, nurture that relationship going forward. But when new business is coming in, that is a make or break time where judgments are being made very quickly about who we are, what we offer, and whether or not we fit. Prospects will make decisions about buying or forging a relationship based on how they feel rather than logic or even numbers. They're going to make a decision based on what they're feeling, and they'll use logic and numbers to support that emotionally based decision. Now, the problem is a lot of our customers are like this little goldfish here. Actually, a lot of us are like this little goldfish here. I don't know if it's cell phones, technology, or the fact that Amazon can take an order that I just ordered 5 minutes ago and deliver it later this afternoon. We expect our solutions to show up easily and friction-free. And our world is moving more and more in that direction. So if you are making it difficult for a prospect to do business with you, you are working against yourself. So our job is to basically deal with the situation right now and make those initial conversations as easy as possible, and to basically just add some ease and friction-free experience into that sales cycle. Now, our job with our website is to build sales funnels and contact forms that collect information so that we can forge the personal relationships later on down the line. But we have to meet our prospects where they're at. Now, if we immediately start talking about how we're going to have, the most beautiful site in the world, and they're dealing with a security issue, we're not meeting them where they're at. If we are talking about a security issue and they're focusing on their core web vital scores, we're not meeting them where they're at. As such, our website becomes this great tool that we can use in order to meet customers where they are with whatever concern they are and start fulfilling those needs in a friction-free way. And the only way to really do that is to set up your website in a way that meets prospects where they typically are, and then bring them to a place where we help them win with the situation that they are immediately facing. Later on down the line, we can have conversations about other things. If we want to talk about performance after the security issue is taken care of, that makes sense. But it's really important in those initial stages, those goldfish sometimes don't even know what it is that they actually want. They just know that they have a particular pain point that they need to solve. And it's our job to help them solve that problem and to address that problem wherever they are at with that short attention span that they have. If they don't find it on your site immediately, if they don't find some semblance of finding a solution to their problem, they're going to go somewhere else. And our job really is to bring them home. Nemo goes off on this great adventure in finding Nemo and ends up in a fish tank, ends up where he doesn't want to be, and he just wants to come home. This is all our prospects want to do as well. They want to come to a place where the stress, the anxiety, the problem, or the aspiration not being solved causing some stress, where that stress is gone, and that you are the trusted partner that brings them to the place of finding that solution. So that's our job. We need to meet them where they are and give them what they want. Now, problems and aspirations are basically what customers are looking for. They're looking either because they need a website that's going to fit a particular need, or they have a problem on their website that isn't being solved. They have a security issue, a drop in the search engine result pages. Something is going on. Maybe their agency that they're currently working with isn't meeting their needs, or is taking too long, or is not creating performant pages. Some kind of problem exists. Maybe they have a new website, a new business altogether, and they need a new website built from scratch, and they don't even know where to start. Whether we're solving problems or helping them to achieve an aspiration, we have to have some kind of understanding of what that is and where they're at in order to really have a good conversation with them. Even if somebody's just coming in on a contact form, they're going to tell you a little bit about who they are and what they need from the get-go. Either way, you need to set up forms that can help you determine where your customer is what their problems are, what their aspirations are, and then help them solve that. Now, common client problems, we've talked about this just a little bit, but let's talk more. Typically, when a new client is coming in the door, they are having a problem with the performance on their site. Maybe they are not hitting core web vital scores, and so therefore they are not visible in the search engine result pages. Maybe their site's not loading in less than 2 seconds, and those clients goldfish are heading to other competitors. We all have this particular problem. No matter what we're doing with the web online, we have the problem of reduced attention spans. So to be sensitive to that, the fact that your prospects and your clients also have this problem is also really important. So site performance is definitely something that you can see coming in the door as a problem to be solved. Now, these types of sales processes can take a little bit longer because it's not necessarily an immediate need. It's a need and there's pain associated with it, but it might take a little bit longer in that sales process compared to, say, for example, a security incident that needs to be remedied immediately. Performance might take longer in the sales process, whereas a security remediation might be something that needs to be done immediately. And if you do this kind of work, you know what it's like. The client's site is down. The client site is redirecting traffic to a malicious part of the internet. The client is losing revenue if it's an e-commerce site. Security types of concerns are immediate. And because the pressure is on, your forms can be a little bit more investigative in terms of the type of information you're collecting. Whereas with a performance problem, maybe you just want to give a little bit more and then have a longer sequence and a longer sales process. Whereas a security incident might be something where you need to pick up the phone immediately and start having a conversation with this client today. Maintenance. A lot of times you'll see clients that have problems with their site not being properly maintained. Plugins are not being updated. They might be running on an older version of WordPress and they're feeling sort of some pressure that they need to get some updates, but it's not an immediate need. Sales are still coming in. That also might have a longer process. New builds typically will be a very long sales process because a big decision is being made. And so they may want to look at all of the options available there. So your forms are going to be different based on the types of client problems or the types of issues that they're coming to you with. So I wanted to just show you this particular landing page as an option for collecting leads. So this is from Verizon's annual data breach investigation report. Now, for a security geek like me, this is something I look forward to every year. I want to see what types of security incidents enterprise businesses are seeing, and I want to get the data because this data is very helpful when I'm having sales conversations. If I can show people that 80% of breaches are happening because of improper authentication, then I can provide that information to help inform a sales process. I can help inform decisions on that for that particular organization. So this is something I look for every year. We see a form here. In order to receive a copy of this report, 6 different fields, something very simple. For me, it could be 20 fields, and I'm probably going to fill it out because I want the information. For you, if you are doing something like this, like a white paper, in order to collect leads, you need to make sure that whatever you're providing is something that is useful to your end user, something that's going to help them achieve something or solve a problem, something that's going to help them inform their decisions if they are, say, for example, moving from a Drupal site to WordPress, and you have expertise in that area. You might put together a white paper that says things to consider when moving from Drupal to WordPress, and that could be behind a lead generation form. So somebody could fill out this form, and then upon completion, Gravity Forms can automatically kick off something with your email service provider and send out this report. And then you can even start a sequence after that within your email service provider, providing drip campaign, basically explaining everything within your report, and then also asking if they would like further information. You can also follow up with calls, those types of things. But if you're doing a lead gen page like this, it's really important that you provide value, that you give as much as humanly possible to the customer, to the prospect, so that when you come back and have an ask to them, that have a conversation with me and let's talk about what kinds of incidents you are experiencing, that you are giving something so that they have a reason to give back to you. This particular form with Oracle, we have not much of an appeal, something that's pretty obvious, that we need to personalize as many experiences as possible and some reasons why. And then we have a ton of form fields to fill out. It's really important when you are establishing a landing page with a form that you only ask for as many fields as you initially need in order to really understand the customer. I would argue that for something like this, you would only need to know their email and their name. You wouldn't even need to know the company name because you could pretty much figure that out from the work email. And you wouldn't even need to know what zip code, customer, location, the industry, all of that stuff is stuff that you can figure out later when the sales process starts to begin. Here, we're just basically trying to get some basic user information. I would also, like with this particular page, tell me what this white paper is going to help me do. What solution is it going to help me create in my business? If I'm going to personalize every experience, is it going to walk me through specific cases of how they've done so? Anyway, whenever you're developing a landing page, make sure it's something that really speaks to your customers where they're at. And I would even argue that you would want multiple landing pages based on multiple types of problems, the problems that we've talked about, performance, security, new builds, those types of things, and have a lead generation download and a form that basically helps them sort of get started. And people always seem to ask, how much information should you give away in a white paper? Give away as much information as possible. Explain how your business solves that problem, as well as giving some advice how they could solve those types of problems themselves. Typically, these types of organizations are going to want expertise brought in so that they can solve the problem without having to reinvent the wheel. They are just looking for your expertise. They are looking at your protocols for solving problems to see if they want to bring that in the organization. So for landing pages, make sure you're just asking for what you really need. You want to understand your prospect's brand goals and challenges. Now, if you have a landing page about like security in the enterprise, for example, and somebody fills out that form, you basically have an overview of who that person is. They've given you your contact information, and they're doing it on the security page. So maybe they have a security incident that they're dealing with. Makes it very easy for you to respond in kind and ask them, are you dealing with a security incident right now? And if they are and they need help, they're going to tell you, because if you're asking and they have a problem, 9 times out of 10, they just want someone to listen to them and help them solve that problem. Performance. Are you having issues with your performance right now? Great follow-up question, and that can create the start of a great relationship. You don't even have to ask those types of questions. Once you have that lead in the door, connect Gravity Forms to your email, making sure you get an email of that person's response. Connect it to Slack. If your organization uses Slack, the fact that you can get a Gravity Forms submission in a Slack channel as a fire hose type of thing, something that we do at Web Dev Studios so that we can respond very quickly. And then also make sure you have your CRM connections with Gravity Forms as well. Get that lead into your customer relationship management system so that as you begin to nurture that lead, it just makes things so much easier. The information, the initial contact is all stored. You don't have to enter it. And then you can really focus on that person, on their problems, and on the things that you need to do to help them solve those things. You can qualify the lead at this point. Once the lead is in the door, you can go take a look at their site. You can run a security scan, an external security scan, see if there's any issues that you can see that you can immediately tell them about. Run a performance scan using Lighthouse and see if they're hitting their core web vitals. That's something, if they're talking about performance, you can say, oh, well, I've taken a look and here's where you're at. Or if they are talking about problems with their search placement and performance issues because of that, or performance issues that are causing problems in their search placement, you can run a scan on their site using Ahrefs or SEMrush or any of the other tools that'll tell you the trends over time of how their site has been showing up in the search engines, and you can get an idea of any kind of problems that they're having there. All of that information on a qualified lead leads to personalized responses. Now, another thing I just want to really highlight, if you have, for example, a landing page that's like contact us now if you would like to learn more about our offering, and they choose that they have a security concern. Let's say you have a checkbox of, are you having any of these experiences right now, performance, security, any of those types of things, and they click security. That might be the time that you might want to provide some conditional fields. If security is checked, you can ask them more questions. If they are in a painful place and they need a solution right now, that's the best time to ask as many questions as you possibly can. You might want to ask questions such as, when did you first notice that there was a security problem on your site? Is your site up or is it down? How soon do you need any kind of remediation? Are you losing money right now? All of those types of things will inform the sales process and allow you to meet the customer where they're at. And Gravity Forms is the perfect tool to collect that kind of information, to inform your sales team so that they can have a very personalized conversation. Because once again, we're talking with someone like the rest of us who doesn't have an attention span, and they have a problem, and they want you to show up where they're at and have a conversation about solving that problem as quickly as possible. That's it. Use Gravity Forms. It is such a great tool. We are so happy using it at Web Dev Studios because it really helps us talk to our customers faster. With all of the integrations, our leads go right into our CRM. They come into Slack, they come into our email, so we can get a fast response to customers based on the information that they are telling us. I'll be sticking around for questions here with the Gravity Forms team. And if you'd like to follow me on any of the social media, find me on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. I've got some security videos and some marketing videos there as well. Instagram is just funny things that I see, and Twitter is where I engage the most about things related to WordPress. Thanks so much for watching.
Kathy. I wish we had more time together today because I have a million questions that I could go into based on that amazing presentation that you just did. First of all, I just feel like I have big shoes to fill because you, I think, hold the WordPress record in longest live stream recording ever, right? I think it was like 85 hours straight, like it's a Guinness Book of World Records.
It might be there by now, yeah.
Like
We've done some long ones.
Yeah, doing this 4-hour one, and it's like half live and half pre-recorded. So amazing job on the live streams that you've done before. Anyway, let's talk about this client relationship. There's so many things that you brought up that were so true. Aside from just like the connection to Gravity Forms and like integrations, from a sales perspective, like growing your agency, especially if you're a freelancer or even like a boutique agency, 2, 3, 4 people, the understatement of a CRM, right? A checklist, a spreadsheet, a database of leads, customers that you have touched, talked to, come across, they've inquired, is so important. And it seems like I'll get to that thing eventually. But it's so important because if you're a 1 or 2 person shop, you have to develop the sites.
Yes.
You have to launch the sites, Q&A, training, education. Here's the first month of support. My God, we launched a website. You have to market the business, and you have to do all the sales stuff. And then there's all the admin stuff of life of running a business. The CRM and staying connected with the customer, building that relationship, following up, notes to yourself, notes about the customer, it's just so important. And I'm glad you brought that up because I think a lot of people overlook it in the small business space.
Right. You know, and the web developers and agencies have the problem of the cobbler's shoes, right? We're building sites and we're building systems for other people. And our stuff is just kind of like, yeah, I'll get to that when I got some downtime. But there's never any downtime, right? And if you're not building those types of systems, I mean, I've seen agencies for years. I ran an agency for a while, and there's that whole, you know, you're working on projects, you sell a project and you're really busy and you stop marketing. And then, you know, you have this fluctuation and roller coaster of revenue coming in. And so getting systems in place, getting retainers in place, all of these systematized things that help you run your business, help even that out so that you have predictable income, that the mortgage is always going to be paid. Those types of things are things that you need to really start thinking about incorporating and automating things as much as possible so that when a lead comes in, you have the information you need where it's just like, boom, yeah, I know this is a good one. I need to drop everything and talk to these people. Or maybe we can just send an automated canned response to this person and see what happens, personalize it just a little bit, that type of thing. So systems exist. We do this for our clients. We help them build these things that help them make good decisions, but oftentimes we put ourselves last and don't do it for ourselves. So I would really encourage people to use a CRM. Tons of options available out there, even some in WordPress, right? So there's tons of different opportunities. And the fact that Gravity Forms integrates so well across the board just makes life so much easier.
There's a lot of technical people in the crowd, especially technical Gravity Forms users. The solo shop, the boutique agency generally probably leans more technical because they're developers, they're coders. They got out of a day job. They're, I'm just going to do it myself, right? And I want to build everything from scratch, going to do it my way. Right? I want tab spaces in my code editor or whatever they say. There's something to be said. Your former world of the host of the Cadence Beat, the Cadence Theme podcast. Cadence Theme, fantastic theme. I use it for a lot of my sites. There's something to be said about systematizing the web development experience. Like you think of like the Cadence patterns, right? Here's a pattern on a page. It's done for me. It's good enough, or it gets me 90% of the way there. And I think that solo shops specifically should think in that easier, cleaner approach to developing a website. Not everything has to be built from scratch for every single customer. And if you're doing it that way, most of you are probably underpricing or undervaluing your work. Whereas if you could come in and say, here's this pre-made solution, right? Here's a template, here's a theme. And what we're going to do for this price point and this time frame that we have together, it's going to be this price, and here's what we're going to build, and here's the solution, because I got all kinds of other things I got to do for you. I got to, obviously build a relationship, connect all these sales marketing engines up to this site, show you how to use it, social marketing, blah, 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 all this stuff. I think that where WordPress is headed, the site builder, themes like Cadence, are really going to help start to streamline, which is funny to say in 2023, start to streamline the agency owner and the solutions that she can turn around and build and ship for clients. Feel the same way. Obviously, you're coming from Cadence, so you kind of saw that world a lot more deeply than I did.
And AI.
Jesus.
All this AI stuff. Cadence AI is like, I think this week or next week it's going to ship. And then there's other AI solutions for building out websites like ZipWP, I think is Adam Preiser's deal that he's doing. And there's so many new AI tools that but here's the thing, AI is only as good as whatever you put into it, right? So if you don't know your customer, if you're not like using Gravity Forms to collect as much information as possible from your customers, what you're going to put into your AI is not going to be good enough. So the magic of collecting all of that information, imagine like taking all of that information that a customer like, okay, great, we're going to onboard you here, fill out these forms about your business, take what they have, clean it up a little bit, maybe fine tune it, because, we know what people are looking for on the web, and sometimes we can contribute there. Take that, put it into AI. Magic.
Yeah. That's actually, I'm just going to throw this up on the screen in the latest the latest podcast episode of Breakdown. I interviewed somebody you might know, Kathy Hazel Kimpo, She
Yes.
uses
I love Hazel.
Gravity Forms to connect up to ChatGPT for like a lead gen experience. So customer comes to her website, you fill out this Gravity form, then the conduit to ChatGPT is Zapier through the Zapier add-on. She's got some magic sauce in there that sends us out to ChatGPT and then delivers a sort of ready-made document for somebody that has analyzed what they're looking for, ran it through ChatGPT, gave them like this customized response, and then the sales now that bond, that relationship is starting, right? I got something cool, something valuable as an end user, as a customer. Looks like Hazel knows what she's talking about. Or
Hazel's
I got
brilliant.
This cool, like I could do this thing now. And even if you don't hire Hazel, then now it's like, hey, I got this cool thing. I can do what I want. And that's value. And that's trust, right? And that's all part of getting into the relationship game, because that's what a lot of this stuff is. We talked about this earlier in the program, that it's, hey, there's plenty of opportunity to just build websites and move on, but you want to build a stronger relationship, because that's how that business is going to thrive in the down times and the good times, because it's not just about that one moment, that one transaction.
Yeah, it's much easier. I mean, we see statistics like this all the time in marketing. It's much easier to sell a client that you've already sold something to. So your existing clients, it's much easier to start new projects or up the retainer a little bit, or just, you already have a relationship. Let's do more, rather than somebody brand new. You've never met them. The lift that you have to provide is like, all of that energy of getting an airplane off the ground, right? There's so much more energy that has to go into forging a new relationship rather than cultivating a relationship you already have. So yeah, totally.
So in your former world, like looking at Cadence, the product, and being in the WordPress product, now at Web Dev Studios, what's the role responsibility there, and how are you taking some of like the product stuff that you learned and sort of and real deep in the WordPress world and helping web dev with some of that stuff?
Yeah, well, the cool thing, and one of the things I love about web dev is that they are really focused on 100% WordPress and keeping customers as close to core as possible, which is something that, is near and dear to me too. I don't want page builders were great for like a while, right? They really helped. They helped me in my relationship with my husband when he's like, look what I found. I don't need to ask you for help anymore. I'm like, thank you. I have freedom, right? Have fun with Divi, right? So they're great at some level, but when you're talking enterprise and you're talking customers and site owners that really want highly performant sites, like, let's stay as close to WordPress core as possible. All the performance improvements that you did that great video on with WordPress 6.4, we're in a place right now where WordPress is ready to knock some things out of the park. And the fact that Web Dev Studios is helping clients at the enterprise level build as close to core as possible, it's amazing. So great. And, there's a lot of innovation happening with blocks, not just block themes, but in blocks themselves, and new blocks that are coming out. And more, of course, is coming into core, and the abilities of being able to really just build out what used to take a really heavyweight page builder. You can do this now in core. So yeah, some of that is some of that knowledge and some of the things that I saw on the ground with the Cadence community, which is just like grown like crazy. Just today, Cadence hit 400,000 installs, and just the innovations that Ben Rittner has brought into the WordPress space, and now seeing that being brought into like the enterprise, there's definitely a lot of cohesion there, and it's a fun time.
It's sort of a moment of where WordPress was certainly growing up. Like folks in the community have talked about that, for a while. Like, we had like these real, small childish years, teenage years, and now like it's sort of becoming like, now it's the kind of being the adult in the room, hopefully. And I think what we're going to see as like 2024, not to make this a core WordPress talk, but 2024, the new default theme, I think is probably one of the best themes that we've had, from here's what the editor can do, here's what full site editing will do. It's not all the way there yet, but it's getting better. But I think it's a very important theme, because the more the average beginner user can use WordPress for the first time and actually enjoy it instead of being like, what the heck is this thing that I'm using, the better the entire ecosystem will be. So it'll never compete with like Cadence, right, or any feature theme or page builder. It'll never probably compete with those types of themes. But what it can do is onboard that person and say, wow, this was actually pretty cool. Like, I like WordPress. My God, can you imagine? Can you imagine if somebody for the first time used WordPress and they were like, oh, this is great, versus like, what am I doing? Right. And I think that'll open up the doors for the rest of us, developers, agencies, designers, to be like, welcome to WordPress. That was nice, right? But I've got this extended experience over here, whether it's Cadence, Gravity Forms, an agency building something for somebody. I think for the next year, this next year is going to be a nice little resurgence for the commercial space of WordPress.
Yeah, I agree. 6.4 when it came out, and I was like, I'm taking a look at this. There is some good stuff, really good stuff. And some of it is like super subtle, like stuff like, okay, lightboxing, super subtle addition, but tons of people who come into the Cadence Facebook group who are like, how do I do it? What plugin do I need for a lightbox? So nice to say you don't need a plugin. It's there. This is I think, most mature and exciting release of WordPress that I have a recollection of. It just seems like it stepped into a space of maturity that really makes me excited for the next year. So I'm here for it.
Kathy Zant, thanks for hanging out today. Web Dev Studios, at Kathy Zant on Twitter. I don't have it in front of me.
And everywhere. I'm Kathy Zant
and
everywhere. I feel sorry for all the other Kathy Zants because I took all the handles.
We're going to go to break. Our next guest is going to be Zach Katz from GravityKit. They're going to have a lot of amazing stuff in there. We're going to go to the ad break. Thanks for watching, everybody. Gravity Forms Summit, first time ever. Share it on your socials. Kathy Zant, thanks so much for doing this. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Hey, while I have you, if you want to get access to versions of Gravity Forms that are coming out under the beta label, sometimes the alpha label, you can get that stuff by going to gravityforms.com/beta. Join our beta group, which gives you access to our a private Facebook group, where we're having these sort of discussions. Sometimes Adam and I are demoing new products coming down from the Gravity Forms team, live streams. Again, these beta versions that you have access to only in our beta testing program. Check it out, gravityforms.com/beta. Join the group. If you're really passionate about Gravity Forms, you want to help us build a better product, it helps you build a better product for your customers, check out gravityforms.com/beta. Sign up there and join the wonderful program. Okay, a little bit of a break, and then we'll get back into the Gravity Forms Summit.
Forum Summit. I'm Zach, and this is Casey, and we are going to be presenting about some of the cool things you can do with GravityKit. And we're excited to be showing you some of the 5 cool apps you can make using GravityKit. And specifically, we're going to really focus on GravityView, one of our powerful add-ons.
Thanks for tuning in to the Gravity Forms Summit. I'm Casey from GravityKit. GravityKit offers a really flexible suite of add-ons for Gravity Forms, allowing you to do a lot more with your form data. And today, Zach and I are going to show you some really powerful web apps that you can build in just a few minutes.
So Casey, what are the most popular use cases for GravityView?
Yeah, so one of the most popular use cases for GravityView is building directories. So all you need to do is create a directory listing form using Gravity Forms, and then you can output that data on the front end using GravityView. Yeah, so the first app we're going to take a look at is a geolocation directory. And this is using GravityView and our premium maps layout. And as you can see, we've created a really cool business directory here. And we've got a Google map here showing the locations of all the businesses as markers on the map. And we also have the ability to filter by location. And we've added some other search inputs here, like for industry and city. And yeah, all this data that we're displaying here has been collected through a Gravity form.
What do you mean by that? So when you say collected, what data are we looking at here?
Yeah, so in this example, we would have a directory website and we would have a form allowing businesses to submit information for their profile. So they would go in there, they would fill out the Gravity form, they would submit the information, and then we would have the option to approve that entry on the back end. And once it's approved, it would show up here in our business directory.
That's entry data.
That's entry data from Gravity Forms. Yeah, and then it's worth noting that our form has an address field, and GravityView geocodes that data and displays it on the map, as you can see here. And another cool thing, if we go ahead and click View Details on one of these listings, we get taken to a detail page where we can actually view more information about that particular business.
And who is this for? Who might find this useful?
We've got this really great case study on our website from the Jacksonville Port Authority. So they're actually a big international seaport, and they use GravityView and the maps layout to display a map on their website showing all the seaports around the world where they offer shipping services. So let's zoom in. Let's zoom in somewhere here. Let's go to Costa Rica.
And this is all Gravity Forms data?
Yeah, this is all Gravity Forms data. It's being displayed using GravityView, our plugin. And yeah, so you can see the markers are clustered here, so that it means there's multiple markers in that particular spot.
Right. So what happens if you click one of these?
Yeah, so if I click on this marker here, you can see I get this little info box that shows up. And in this case, you can actually put any data you want in here that you've collected through your form. So in this case, they're just showing the name of the port, the carrier here, the cargo, and then they have this link here to view details. So let's check it out. Yeah, so if I click through there, I get this nice detailed look at that specific port. They've got all this information here, which is really useful if you're looking for shipping services.
Cool. So that map layout's really nice. What if you want to have a more traditional directory where it's like a table instead of this grid layout?
Totally possible. All right, so in this example, we're actually using the GravityView table layout with the maps widget. So as you can see, all of our directory data is just here in a simple table. And we're actually using a slightly different type of map. And we're also using different marker styles too. So you can customize all of that.
So if I have a different marker per industry, I can do that?
Yeah, totally. So you can actually map the marker type to a drop-down, an option in a drop-down field. So you could have different marker per industry or whatever metric you want.
And it looks like there are a bunch of different columns in there. How can I remove the phone number and maybe add a link to the single entry to view more details about each business?
Let's take a look at this in the back end then. So I'll edit the view that we've created. And here is the GravityView drag and drop builder. So everything here is editable, customizable. At the top are our widgets. At the bottom, we've got these fields. This is the actual data that we're displaying. So the business name, industry, phone, and email. So you said you wanted to remove the phone field?
Yeah.
Yeah, so just get rid of it here. And let's say we wanted to add a link through to the single entry where they could view more information about that business. I will just click this button here, and we'll just add this field link to single entry.
And what does that do?
Yeah, so if we scroll up, we can just click on the single entry layout tab here. And this is actually where we can configure that layout on the front end. So at the moment, we've got all of these fields that are going to display on the single entry page. But we could easily remove fields here. We could add additional fields. Okay, so now I'm just going to update the view to save those changes, and then we can check it out on the front end. Okay, so as you can see, we've removed the phone field, and we've got this link to single entry. So if I click View Details on one of these listings, here's the single entry page. As you can see, we're showing some additional information about this business here.
And what if I want to contact this business from this single listing page? Is that possible to do? What about like a contact form?
Yeah, so it's totally possible to embed a contact form in this page, actually. And you could do that if we go back to the editor. And I click to add another field. You can see if I search here, we actually have a Gravity Forms field type. And if you add that to your view, that actually allows you to embed a Gravity form in your view. Okay, so now I've added the Gravity Forms field, but now I need to configure which form to display. So we can open up the field settings here, and I'll go ahead and select a form, request a quote. So let's take a look at what that looks like. I'll update the view. Let me scroll down. And here is our request a quote form. So if a user wanted to get in touch with this business, request a quote from them, they could just fill in this form.
I love the idea that you can take your existing contact forms and address fields and just turn this into useful data and convert your existing data into a map layout. So Casey, what other kind of applications can you build with Gravity View and GravityKit?
Yeah, so there's a lot you can do. One more I just wanted to highlight along these lines was the real estate directory. So this is a good example, I think, of something really powerful you can build just using Gravity View and the maps layout. So this is a real estate directory. And we've modeled this after Zillow. That's one thing that's really awesome about Gravity View is that it's so flexible. You can build loads of different types of things. So you can build like Zillow clones. You could even build like a Yelp clone. And as you can see, I think it looks really good. Let's click on one of these listings. Okay, so here's the single entry. We've got this nice image at the top and all the other kind of information you'd want to know about a house if you're considering renting or buying. And down below, this is really nice. We have additional images. So this is actually like an image gallery. So if I click on one of these, it brings up the image here, and I can just cycle through them. And these are images that have been uploaded using the Gravity Forms file upload field, using the multi-file upload feature.
And does that also work with like Image Hopper or the GravityWiz advanced image uploader?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and then we've got the single entry map, just showing the specific location of the property.
What if I have like a mortgage calculator shortcode, for example, and I want to pre-populate it with the price and it'll output some data? Can I do that kind of thing?
Yeah, so if you have a shortcode that you want to add to the layout, you can just use the Gravity View custom content field. And that allows you to embed shortcodes. You could even add your own HTML content. You can use Gravity Forms merge tags in there. There's a lot you could do.
I want to create a form where they can submit their own information. Whenever they need to, they can go in and edit it, update their picture, update their details. I don't want to have to manage this all myself, but I want it to look really nice. Casey, what can you do? Can you help me with this?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the popular use cases for Gravity View is actually displaying people profiles on your website. And you could do that in different forms. You could create like a member directory, for example, like we have here, or like you're talking about maybe like a team page, something like that. So this is an example of just a basic member directory that we created. And you can see it's just got a name and a profession. And if we click View Profile, we can view the full profile of this person.
What happens if somebody wants to like edit this information themselves? Like what is the flow for that?
Logged in members can edit their own information, and they don't need to go in the backend to do that. So for example, in this example, we have this edit profile link here. And if I click that, it'll take me through to the edit entry layout, which is just like a front-end form, basically, where I can update all of this information.
And what if I don't want them to be able to update some certain fields? Like I want them to update only a few, but not all of them.
Yeah, so you can control that in the Gravity View editor. You have the ability to configure this edit entry layout however you want.
I don't want people submitting nasty stuff or anything inappropriate. If it's a member-driven directory, like if they submit information that I don't like, how does it just automatically go live? What happens?
It's up to you. Gravity View actually has an inbuilt approval system. So if you enable it, then it means that entries will only show up on the front end in your view if you approve them first. You can disable it if you want stuff to show up immediately, but that approval system is really powerful for filtering out any kind of entries that you don't want to show up.
Okay, if they get approved and then they edit the entry, does it just automatically unapprove them?
You can set that actually. If you want entries to have to be reapproved after editing, or if you want the changes to immediately take effect, yeah, it's up to you.
So what other kind of things can we do with like people profiles?
Yeah, so another thing you could do is create like a company team page, for example. And we've got a nice demo of that. Yeah, so here's an example of a company team page. And this is actually using the Gravity View DIY layout, which gives you more control. If HTML and CSS, you can actually use that to build your own custom layouts. Like here, we've done some fun stuff, for example, with the flags in the background.
What other really cool applications can you make with GravityKit?
Yeah, so one that I think is really cool is having an application management system. This could be for a wide variety of use cases. We've got a demo here for employment applications, so like people applying for jobs. You could also build something like this for like grant applications for nonprofits, research proposal applications, all kinds of stuff. But yeah, like in this example, people are applying for positions, and we've got this nice table where we're collecting the application information and we're organizing it by the status of the application. So here are all the approved ones. We've got rejected, and then the ones at the bottom are waiting for review.
If I don't want to see rejected ones, is that possible with Gravity View?
Yeah, totally. So you can use a filter in the view settings to only display the ones that you want to see. So you can filter on multiple conditions.
How do we search this? So let's say I want to say like waiting review for a sales position.
Yeah, so we have a search facility at the top, and we can just change the status here to waiting review. And position, let's sales, and then search. So we've only got one application that meets those criteria, and you can see it displays here. And
What's
if I
this
click,
layout?
yeah, this is using data tables. So this is a really powerful table layout that gives you a lot of control over your data. For example, you can click columns, and you can actually add or remove fields, add or remove columns in the table, which just makes it really easy to just show the information that you want. So I could remove those columns, for example, add them back. And then the table also has advanced export capabilities. So you can export entries to CSV, Excel, PDF, and that's just with a single click.
So if I wanted to create a quick report, I could filter my data, click export to PDF, and it's just generated.
Yep, just like that.
That's bonkers.
Yeah, so let's just take a look at this application in more detail. If I click the name here, we can see the full application is displayed. And we've also got this nice button here to download this particular person's resume.
So Casey, I've been seeing a lot of Gravity View. I think I've got an idea of some of the powerful stuff you can do with it. But what about other GravityKit add-ons? Like, I've got a lot of data that I need to chart. I got a lot of reports I need to make. What do you recommend there?
Yeah, great question. There's a lot of other plugins in the kit that offer a lot of powerful functionalities. So yeah, let's take a look at another one, Gravity Charts. So Gravity Charts allows you basically to take your Gravity Forms data and create really powerful and engaging visualizations using that data. So here's some examples. Here we're just displaying a basic bar chart. We've got a little poll here asking people how many cups of coffee they drink a day, and we're just visualizing the results.
Like cups of coffee.
And yeah.
5 cups a day, Casey? That's dangerous.
These are people who visited the demo site.
We've got some caffeine fiends.
Yeah, I think GravityKit customers are caffeine addicts, apparently. Something else that's really neat that you can do with Gravity Charts is actually chart your data like on a timeline. So in this example, we're looking at revenue per day. And we've got the date here on the x-axis, and this is the revenue we've generated. If we scroll down, you can see we've got like pie charts here or donut charts. We've even got a really neat radar chart. Here's a column chart. And at the bottom is a polar area chart. So these are really neat ways to visualize your data, depending on the type of data that you're working with.
And are these blocks? I want to embed these charts in a page where I put together a dashboard for my team. Is that possible?
Oh yeah, totally. So you can embed charts using a shortcode or a block. So it integrates with the WordPress editor, and you can just add a block, and you have some options that you can configure.
Casey, I'd love to see what this looked like in the backend. Can you show me what the customization would look like?
Yeah, let me take a look at this existing chart. Let's just edit it. So here we can just give our chart feed a name, and then we can select the chart type here. So we've got these different options, and then we'll scroll down here. This allows us to select the data that we're actually going to be showing on the chart. So in this case, we've got the date field selected. We're showing data on a timeline. The timeline type is set to some values. So we could also have like average values if you had like multiple values per day. And then the actual data field that we want to show, in this case, it's revenue. You can see we have a chart configuration panel, and this allows us to really customize things. There's loads of options here. So if I just open up the design panel, I can scroll down here. Area fill is currently disabled, but I could just add that again below the line, for example. And what's really nice is that we have this live updating preview. So as you make changes to your chart, you can actually see what that looks like straight away.
So we've looked at the mapping capabilities with Gravity View. We've looked at the ability to make member directories and team profile pages and chart report pages. It seems like GravityKit, you can kind of mix and match these different functionalities to create really powerful apps.
Yeah, totally. In fact, you can embed charts inside views. And then you can actually look at the data in your view. You can visualize that using a chart. And that's a really nice way to use Gravity Charts and Gravity View together.
So wait, the chart would live update when you update the view, like when you do a search or whatever?
Yeah, exactly. There's actually a Gravity Charts widget in the Gravity View Builder, and you can just add that to your view and display your view data in the chart that you choose. You could create data dashboards, for a variety of things like sales dashboards or analytics dashboards, whatever you wanted to visualize or track.
Sounds like GravityKit's a great solution for many different use cases.
Some would say so, yeah.
If I'm trying to build like a member directory or a map layout directory, what kind of package do I need?
Yeah, for that, Gravity View Pro would be what you need. Gravity View Pro includes all of our premium layouts and extensions. And yeah, it really allows you to build some really powerful stuff.
And does Gravity Charts come with Gravity View Pro?
No, so Gravity Charts is a separate plugin. You could either get that separately or as part of our all access package.
So Casey, we've got to go to the live Q&A. This has been awesome, but thank you so much for showing us around and answering all my questions. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So although Zach was asking me a lot of questions, he actually is the know-it-all when it comes to GravityKit. So ask him anything you want, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation.
I know things about GravityKit. All right.
Well, we're gonna find out if you actually know things about GravityKit right now. Let me just say something, by the way. 5 cups of coffee. That's where we start.
Oh boy, you're a pot of coffee kind of guy.
Most days, I mean, famously, I'll buy my coffee fix for the day, or even if I make a cup of coffee, it does last a while. My wife wonders why I even drink stuff, because it takes me like a whole day to finish it. Fantastic stuff, fantastic presentation. I remember running my agency, and when Gravity View first hit the scene, I'm going to upset some of the certified developers in the crowd here. But Gravity View was the first time I saw like an extension of Gravity Forms. Are you the first to hit the scene?
I believe so. I was the first person to really go for it on the WordPress.org plugin directory. And I just released a ton of add-ons. And I don't know if I was the first premium add-on, but I was certainly one of them. And I think Carl Hancock, one of the co-founders of Gravity Forms, said that I was the first. So I'll take his word for it. But yeah, we've been around since 2014, making people's dreams come true for what they could do with drag and drop and Gravity Forms. Like, people are building amazing apps, and I don't want people to watch this and say like, oh, they only demoed 5 things. There's nothing else I could do. People are making incredible drag and drop MVPs of applications that we had a customer who ended up building something that generated $1 million in recurring revenue every year for them. And then they switched off of Gravity View. So I think that's a pretty good success story, where you can do everything you need up to $1 million and then maybe it's time to do some custom development. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a couple things I want to get into. I saw some comments in the crowd, but directories, CRUD applications, is that the proper term for it? CRUD, CRU, to create, replace, update, delete, I believe is the...
Create, read, update, delete.
Read, update, delete. Yeah. These things are like the, I don't know, like MVPs, or almost the thing that you get the most requests for when you're running an agency, which is crazy. Build a real estate website, do all these things. I saw somebody in the crowd saying something like, hey, like you could do these things on a theme that you just buy. It's a real estate site. Hopefully through the education and content that we put out today, we're kind of going to like elevate that thought process a little bit, because everything in the software space, maybe not everything, but everything in the WordPress space, there's always like this alternative. There's always like this easy, quick alternative that can be done. Sure, you could do that on a theme, but the best way to grow an agency, and I know it's easy to look at short-term success right out of the gate if you haven't been in the game that long, like $50 WordPress theme does this thing. I put it on top of the hosting and I sell it for XYZ dollars for the customer, and then I move on with my day. That's easy. That's more short-term wins. Hopefully what we're looking at, especially in the year 2023, are these more long-term scalable solutions. Gravity Forms, GravityKit can help me solve many different clients with one tool set along the way, right? I have this one suite of tools and I build upon it for many different clients. What happens in the WordPress space is this fragmented approach where, yeah, I go buy this theme, but that theme is done. It's for that one client.
It may never update it again as well. Like themes come and go.
Update it again. Yeah. What we want to do is set ourselves up for success by having the little core engine that is Gravity Forms, GravityKit, inside of WordPress. That way, in 10 years, that client is still chugging along, and we're doing things as close to sanity is possible, right?
Right.
As WordPress evolves, you're evolving GravityKit, we're evolving Gravity Forms, and things are all operating, fine as years to come. I don't want, a short-sighted approach, because I lived it. I did that. I bought the real estate theme off of ThemeForest, sent it off on its way, and it was a nightmare, right? And no one was happy. So I applaud you for building the tools in the ecosystem, and with an eye on WordPress and Gravity Forms and connecting the dots across the board. No real question there, bit of a soapbox moment. But if you have,
I'll take it as a question, and I'll kind of take it from there and say that like once you think in the terms of Gravity Forms, where entries are rows in a database and forms you can kind of see as tables in a database, and if I want to connect two forms using Gravity View with a unique identifier in the middle and build out an application that updates all sorts of stuff, you can do that when you think of GravityKit and Gravity View as an application builder. Once you start thinking in these ways, like, I need to do this, I have the tools I need because of Gravity Forms and the amazing ecosystem and GravityKit and GravityWiz and everybody. Like, you can get anything done. Like anything, any kind of application you need to build, Gravity Forms has the solution. And I am constantly amazed by the people who come up to me and say, like, I replaced $20,000 a month or some bonkers amount of recurring costs were replaced with our single plugin and Gravity Forms.
Yeah. One of the things that going back to my days in the agency world and just like looking at what Gravity View does, like it, when Kathy's talk in the previous session before this, she talked about intaking customers and finding the niche and becoming the expert and really listening and building that relationship. Directories, the CRUD systems that we talked about. When you have these tools in your tool belt, you start to look at sales prospects and these customer intake moments. You're looking at it through the lens of Gravity Forms and GravityKit. As they're talking to you and giving you their pain points, like Kathy was pointing out, you start to calculate that in your head. And you say, yes, these are the things I can solve with just taking core GravityKit and handing it over to this solution and building it out. Then as you become really versed in this stuff and, become, shipping much more projects for customers, then you start to realize, okay, here's what I can do with my tool set. And then here's the custom part of the job. Here's the 80%. Here's the 20%. The 20% is going to be pretty costly, customer. We can build this for you at 80% for, I don't know, just throwing numbers out there, $10,000. But that custom component is going to be like double the price for this 20% of functionality. Do you want to go there? And like Kathy said, you could build something much cheaper, much more affordable, let's say for the customer with GravityKit, and then the customer will see the value in it, and then maybe you expand into that custom project later on. You're actually doing yourself and your customer a service by saying, look, don't spend all that money. I can do this with GravityKit for this price. Right. And then we'll get into that next version later. You start to coach the customers like, you're building software here. Let's do it in steps. Let's do it in baby steps.
You're buying a cake and you just put on the frosting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we always have this conversation about cakes, you and I. I don't know how this comes.
Cakes and coffee, Matt.
Yeah.
It's not a bad conversation to have.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have an add-on called Gravity Migrate, which I think is it's still in beta, but it's almost out of beta. We're really happy with it because it allows people and agencies to migrate forms, migrate configured views, migrate anything Gravity Forms related, including entries, from one site to another with one zip file. And you download it and then you upload it. And it's that simple. All your Gravity Forms world is recreated on a new website. So if you're an agency and you're hearing Matt talk about like making it easy on yourself, you could have a starter pack and just like download your zip and upload it for every new client, and you're set up with a Gravity Forms installation without having to do a database migration tool or anything like that.
Yeah, 100%. GravityKit.com. You can find all things GravityKit at GravityKit.com. There was a we'll cut into ad spot a little bit. There was a couple questions. I think you answered them in chat, but let's just throw them up on screen so folks can see. Are there any limitations on entries a form can have? Can a form have 100,000 plus entries? The answer is yes. It can have 100,000 plus entries. I guess from a scaling technical issue is, do you have enough storage, performance on your web hosting, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, that can certainly process that. And Dario asks, is there a way to filter the chart output dynamically with form data in the form itself?
Yeah, and we didn't, I don't know what Dario means in the form itself, but I interpreted it to mean, can you have the chart and then filter it live on the front end? And you can do that with GravityView. And GravityView, if you add a charts widget, you can add a chart on top of a view and then only show the chart data for the entries that are displayed in the table in GravityView, which is a really powerful combination. So people can search and the search is reflected live in the chart results.
Little plug for my podcast. Why not? I'm in control here, Zach. I'm in control here. Breakdown podcast. Go to gravityforms.com/breakdown to get the podcast. I'm actually running my podcast survey, obviously using Gravity Forms and the survey tool or the survey add-on to ask about 3 or 4 questions, and then I'm using your tool to display the results. This is an example of survey data being displayed with your charts tool. You can find this at form with 3 M's .wtf/results. And if you're a podcast listener, you can go to form.wtf/survey to give me your feedback on Breakdown. GravityKit.com. Zach, thanks for hanging out today. The whole interview or the whole presentation shot on iPhone, I heard.
As always.
All right. Thanks, Zach. Thanks for hanging out today.
Thanks,
Everybody else,
Matt.
we're going to be going into the almost last segment. Wow, the time flies. With Dave from GravityWiz, how to conquer any project on the other side of this ad spot. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. We'll see you in 5 minutes. If I can find the ad spot. Here we go. Okay, I wanted to tell you about one last thing today during our little break. You can set up demos for Gravity Forms. If you go to gravityforms.com, head to product, use our demo. You can sign up and start a demo with Gravity Forms. So you can play with Gravity Forms right in your browser, play with the different add-ons that we have to offer. It's a great way to experience Gravity Forms before you go all in on purchasing. And by the way, we have our sale happening next week for 50% off during Black Friday, Gravity Forms and Gravity Flow. So if you want to play with Gravity Forms before trying it out, installing it on your WordPress website, go to gravityforms.com, go to product, use our demo, sign up in the Gravity Form right here. It'll send you a link. You can access the little playground to play in and start connecting up all of your Gravity Forms. Check it out at gravityforms.com.
Client work. It's fun, it's exciting, but it's tough. Internal projects can be just as hard. Complex requirements always seem to extend beyond core plugin functionality. It's not like you only have one project on your plate either. You're always juggling a few. So many projects, there's so little time. You can't afford to dig in and figure out the most perfect solution for every problem because you have deadlines. And after those deadlines, you have new projects starting soon. But you're not here to complain. You're here to get the job done. And that's why you're listening to this bearded fellow tell you about GravityWiz and how we can help you conquer any project on time and in style. Hi, my name is Dave, and I'm the CEO of GravityWiz, the #1 provider of Gravity Form solutions in the world. Fun fact, GravityWiz actually started as a byproduct of my own freelance business. I was doing lots of custom Gravity Forms development, and I wanted to share what I was working on every day with the community. So over the last 10 years, my team and I created the exact solution I wanted when I was pulling all-nighters delivering dozens of projects a month. So what is this magical project conquering solution? It all starts with Gravity Perks. Our suite of 47 plus, that's 47 full-featured Gravity Forms add-ons. With access to this many tools, you'll be able to conquer most projects straight out of the gate. Our products are easy to use, they work beautifully together, and they integrate seamlessly with Gravity Forms. Now, on occasion, a requirement may extend even beyond our core plugin functionality. It's bound to happen. But fear not, we have a snippet library with over 800 free snippets to help you get the job done. For our pro customers, we'll go even further, tweaking these snippets or writing new minor customizations to keep you closing deals. Of course, you'll absolutely have questions along the way. And as much as we wizards enjoy talking to our customers, you shouldn't have to talk to us to be able to use our products. And you don't. Our documentation is thorough. It is updated regularly, and it is always available thanks to the internet. For questions that extend beyond the docs, we have a full team of wizards who are knowledgeable, friendly, and so eager to help. I should mention that our support is absolutely legendary. We're true Gravity Forms wizards with years of hands-on experience. And most importantly, we genuinely care about our customers. Let me share 2 testimonials that capture the GravityWiz support experience perfectly. First, from Luca Ottolini, unbelievable support, fast, kind, knowledgeable, helpful, the best support I've ever had in over 15 years of web development. Jennifer Erdman shared, you guys are all super unique. I've never had support help as much as you guys do. You provide real answers that actually fix issues. And it's true. We'll do everything we can to find a solution that meets your needs. In the rare cases where we don't have a solution, we'll do our best to provide guidance on the best path forward, as any wizard would. You might be thinking, okay, cool. But what can Gravity Perks actually do for me? Well, this is one of our own pain points. We can't possibly convey even a fraction of what a suite of 47 plugins is capable of doing in 20-minute presentation. But I've cooked up a really sweet demo that will use several of our products, our most popular perks, to show you not only what perks can do on their own, but how much more is possible when they are combined. Sound good? All right. Let's explore. So another fun fact about me, I have 4 kids, one of whom is a 3-year-old. And while it may be a little premature for him to be out there getting a job, I think it would be awesome for him to get a little bit more interaction with kids his own age. So my wife and I are looking for a daycare somewhat close to the house, and we found this one. It looks awesome. So we're going to use this one. as our theoretical. And in this theoretical, they've reached out to my agency because they want to start accepting online registrations for their programs, of which they have quite a few. So getting this in Gravity Forms by default is pretty easy. We're just going to go to add a blank form. We'll do daycare registration. We'll create the blank form, and we'll just start with a radio button for programs. And then we'll add the choices statically. I'm going to use the bulk add. It makes my life a little easier. I actually can't see what's selected there. Oh, yep, wrong one. There we go. We got our choices here that we want to use. So we're going to insert these. Gravity Forms will handle making them each their own unique choice. And we'll save the form. We'll preview the form. Awesome. Obviously, we'll collect a lot of other information. But as far as just specifying one of the programs that they're interested in, they can do that now. But the Manor Schools has also communicated that each of these programs has a capacity. Their half-day programs have a capacity of 6, and their full-day programs have a capacity of 12. So let's use GP inventory, which I've already enabled, to add that concept of capacity to these choices, limiting how many times each choice can be selected. So I've already enabled simple inventory, and I'm going to go down and just enable show available inventory so that we can see how many spots are left. And we'll go back up to the edit choices, and we'll do 6 for the half days, 12 for the full days. Awesome. And actually, let's update this to 2 just so I can show you what an exhausted choice will look like. We'll save that. We'll preview. There you go. We have our 2-day mornings. It says 2 items remaining. Let's select 1 and submit. Awesome. Now there's only 1 item remaining because I've consumed 1. With that said, what we don't want to do here, or one thing I'd like to tweak, is that it says item. That makes it sound like it's a physical product, but in this case, it's not a physical product. So let's make it a spot instead. So we'll copy the template in this inventory available messages, or inventory available message, and we'll go spots there instead. And we'll wrap it in a parentheses just like the original template. So we'll save, we'll refresh, and there you go. Now it's updated to spots. And if we click here and click submit, you'll see that that spot has now been consumed, and this choice can no longer be selected because it has no other inventory available. If you want to hide the choice when inventory is exhausted instead, just check that option, save the form, refresh, and you're good to go. Now, this is going to work super well if there was only one age group and a small set of programs. But if there's more than that, then managing this form is going to get really unwieldy. So let's use populate anything to separate the data of the form from the actual form itself. So populate anything is already active. And now let me show you this other form I've created in advance called daycare programs. So the daycare programs form has our program name, our program description, program group, capacity, basically any kind of data and metadata that we want to capture about the program, you just add as a field to this form. Then in the entries, you can see this is all the pre-submitted data I've already added. We have some pre-kindergarten programs, some 3-year-old programs, and the 2-year-old programs. And note that their capacity is set here, their program description, the program name, and this program group, because that's going to be important in a second here. So let's go to this form. Let's go back to our daycare registration form. We're going to go to radio buttons. Actually, let's do a select first, because this time what we want to do is we want to let them select their age group as a starting point. What age group are they interested in? So go up to general, and instead of adding these choices statically, we're going to add them dynamically. Again, this is powered with populate anything. So we've selected populate choices dynamically. We're going to go down. We're populating this from entry data. So we're going to go Gravity Forms entry as the data type. And then the form is our daycare programs that has all the data that we need. We don't need to filter anything just yet. We're going to go right down to the choice template. And for the value, we're just going to put program group. And for the label, we're going to do program group as well. And before I forget, let's name this age group up here since the front end user may not know what a program group means, they're going to be thinking in the context of age. Okay. Now, another thing that's cool is that you can actually preview the results here in the populate anything settings, and it will tell us exactly what groups are going to be populated. Pretty cool. Now, it's time to add the ability to select a specific program. So we added a radio button field. We're going to add the program here. We're going to go down here to populate choices. We're going to do the same thing, Gravity Forms entry, and we're going to select the same form because, again, that same form has all the data that we need. The only difference is that now we want to filter the results that are populated based on the program group that was selected in the form. So wherever the program group on the entry matches the age group selected here in the form, we want to populate those entries. We can go ahead and move on and select the program name here for both of these. Awesome. We'll save this form. We'll preview it. And now you'll see that 2-year-old was selected by default. So first of all, these are all being dynamically populated from that entry data. And you'll see that because 2-year-old is selected, it has all of the programs that are in the 2-year-old program groups displayed here. And if we select 3-year-old, it'll show those. And pre-kindergarten, it'll show those. So let's go up to the 2-year-old thing, and we'll select the 2-day mornings. And we go back, and we'll see that we forgot to add capacity. So, easy enough. We'll go to our program field. We'll go to perks. We'll go to simple. And we're going to do the show available inventory again. And this time we're going to go up to general. And we're going to go down, and you're going to see under choice template, there's a new option here called inventory limit. And with this, we can actually select the capacity. So this will map exactly from whatever capacity you've entered into the entry will be mapped here and used as the inventory limit. So we can save this form, we can preview, and you can see that we've already consumed one item here from that submission that we just did. And if we submit it again, it'll consume another. Awesome. Okay. So one thing I wanted to show before we move on is that you can also do this, populate this data directly from Google Sheets with our GP Google Sheets perk. So I have a form already set up here, and this is going to pull data from a Google Sheet. And let me grab that URL for you so you can see the data itself. In this case, I only did the programs for the 2-year-old and the pre-kindergarten. But other than that, you'll notice that it's very similar to the data that we captured here in the actual Gravity Forms entry. So with that said, let's explore populating this. So the program group is going to be very similar. Only difference is that we've selected Google Sheet here, and we selected the daycare program spreadsheet, and then it only has one sheet, so we select that sheet by default. And it will tell us that, hey, okay, we're going to populate these groups. So we've got the 2-year-old group and the pre-kindergarten group, which matches up with the data. Then going down to the program, we have same situation, Google Sheet, daycare programs for the spreadsheet, sheet 1. And now we're doing the same thing where we filter the rows by the group. So wherever the row has a group that matches the program group selected here, it should display that row in this field. And then again, we've mapped the program name for the value and label and inventory limit for capacity. Awesome. We don't really need to save this because it didn't change anything. So we'll just go ahead and preview it, and you can see that same data is coming in straight from the Google Sheet. All right, time to move on. Quick water break. So I shared this with the Manor schools. They love it. They're like, this is perfect. It's going to make our lives so much easier. The only thing that we don't love is that our admin users are going to have to log in to Gravity Forms to manage these program entries here. They're like, is there any way that we could not have to teach them how to do this here? And there could just be like a simple form on the front end that we could style and brand with our own branding. And of course, there is. So let's go and explore entry blocks. So I have 2 pages set up here, one for adding a new program. And this just has the daycare program form set up so that way it's accessible from the front end and you can style it and brand it however you want. This is just all core Gravity Forms functionality. But we also have the Manage Programs form. So this one, oops, let me delete that. Kind of spoiled the surprise there. So let's build this one together. We're going to do slash, and GP entry blocks is going to provide you this Gravity Forms entries block as a starting point. We'll select it. And the next thing we need to do is select a form. In this case, this is going to be specifically for managing daycare programs. So let's select the daycare programs form. We'll select the entries table, and it'll give you a default table with the entry ID and then edit and view links. We don't want them to see the entry ID. It's just not important for them, but we do want them to see the program name, and we do want them to see the program group. In this case, the program group being first is going to be more useful so they can more quickly scan and figure out which program name is applicable to them. And then, honestly, that's pretty good. Let's go ahead and update this, and then we'll view it on the front end. And you can see that the user can see all of the courses or the programs that are available. They can edit a program. Let's say maybe we got the time wrong on this. It was actually 7:10, and we can submit. And we can go back, and then we can view this too. And this just uses the Gravity Forms all fields template merge tag by default, but it is fully customizable. You can tweak this however you want using any block you want. We're not going to go too deep into that for time, but I would like to show you how you can add a new entry here, and then also how those changes are reflected on the front end. So let's view this new program post. And one of the ones I didn't do any of the kindergarten programs. So let's capture this morning program. We'll go here, we'll paste that in, we'll cut this out, get the program description in there, and then we'll go down. This is a kindergarten program, and it is a half-day program, so we'll say the capacity is 6. We submit the form. I have GP reload form enabled here, which adds this really helpful add link, which you can customize the text on, and when we click this, it would let us add another one without having to refresh the form or the page. So there you go. So now, first of all, if we refresh this page, you'll see that the option that we just added is here. It's editable by any user you give permission to edit this page. And even cooler is that this is going to show up on the form. So let's go to the registration form, and we'll preview that really quick. And you can see that we have this kindergarten option here, and it wasn't there before, and now it is, which is awesome. Again, the power of separating the data from the form for truly dynamic forms is just so powerful. All right, what else do we want to see in here? How about filtering these options for making it a little easier to use? We're going to select this. We're going to add the filters here. And one thing that can be super useful here is filtering by the program group, a specific one rather than searching all. And we'll do that. We'll refresh the page. And then now we can go and we can actually say, hey, let's only find pre-kindergarten programs. Super awesome. Super useful when you get more and more data in here. With my last 60 seconds of time, I'd like to do a little crash course of other ways you can use perks within the context of this premise. First one is email users. This is a great way to just send a blast out to anyone. Maybe they signed up for a program that got canceled, or maybe a teacher is out sick. You can target just those users and send them an email notification directly from Gravity Forms. Super powerful. Notification scheduler. This would be a great way to schedule essentially like drip notifications for new parents that may be new to the school. And you just want to kind of get them familiar with how things work. Conditional logic dates, a super powerful way to make date-based conditional logic. In this case, you may be giving discounts for people who register early, or a penalty for registering late. Easy pass-through. This will save their data in an entry as Gravity Forms does, but then we'll let you reload that data into a form in the future as well. So this would be a great way to let people register multiple years when they come back next year to register, you can pre-populate some of their data for them to speed up the process. And lastly, but not least, I just wanted to show this little fun one here. If you wanted to spice up your registration form, make it a little bit more flashy, this is page transitions, and page transitions just adds these animated page transitions to your form and gives you the ability to auto progress through the form. I'm sure you noticed that as I would click options, it would just move to the next form, to the next page. Okay, Felt a little rushed there at the end, but yeah, we just really appreciate you guys giving us your time and attention while we showed you everything that we can do. I think you can see how flexible GravityWiz is and Gravity Perks. But more than anything, I just really want to stress how much we are excited to help you. We have hundreds of testimonials that will say the same thing to back that up. But the number one way is just for you to experience it yourself. So come give us a shot. Looking forward to working with you. Bye.
All right. The man himself, the wizard. Wait a minute. The beard looks a little bit trimmed.
A little cleaned up today.
A little bit cleaned up.
Yeah, I will say Sunday when I was recording that was a little hectic.
Dave, thanks for joining us today. GravityWiz, we went through a plethora of ways that you can leverage the stuff you have going on. I say stuff because when we chatted earlier on the podcast months ago, we talked about like how you started with snippets, code snippets, then turned into add-ons, then turned into more robust solutions. If I can, I want to build off of some of the stuff that Zach and I were chatting about, putting yourself in the shoes of an agency and like scaling your agency with the tool set that you're familiar with. This is something you've had to do, right? Because you have so much stuff at GravityWiz that you have to constantly like look at this from a 50,000 foot view. How do I continue to scale this not just with Gravity Forms, but with WordPress itself? How do you do that? Like, how do you watch over your, stable of products and continue to scale that so that customers can benefit?
Honestly, I think our key to success has just been not trying to let perfect be the enemy of good enough. We just like to get things in customers' hands as quickly as possible, and then the customers kind of guide us where we can spend our time and add the most value for them. And that's the exact history there of the snippet library. Like we love to help. And so when there's an opportunity we will write a snippet, and those snippets are a great way for us to kind of explore this idea. There's been a ton of snippets that have graduated into actual features and perks. And that's what we like to do. We like to just get a solution in place. And then if that solution works well, and oftentimes we'll iterate on a snippet, a dozen times. Like we'll just add this little feature, this little feature, this little feature. And next thing you know, like, okay, either this snippet is actually like a full-blown new product now, or it's finally ready to be merged into one of our existing products.
Yeah. Your most, I won't say, I'll let you fill in the blanks for me. What's the most popular add-on that you have that agencies and freelancers are leveraging?
I would definitely say Populate Anything is just, again, we call it our Swiss Army plugin because I showed one example here in this demo of what it can do, but it's really just the surface of what it can do. And it can just be used for so many different things. Any kind of dynamic forms, Populate Anything is going to, just pave the way and just make it super easy to accomplish whatever you need. Follow that with, our next one that's been really blowing up has been Google Sheets. People are using Google Sheets, but we had no idea how much people were using Google Sheets until we released our GP Google Sheets add-on, our perk. And yeah, that's just been a huge success. Again, tying that in, we made a point to integrate that with Populate Anything. So not only will the Google Sheets perk allow you just to send that data to Google Sheets, but then you can use Populate Anything to then populate data from the Google Sheets. So a very complementary relationship there.
Yeah. So people probably using that. I'm going to keep pulling on the real estate thread a little bit here, but I can certainly see, admins in a real estate office updating prices of vacation rental or something like that. And because, part-time summer employee at the real estate office, we're not going to give them access to WordPress, but they can understand Google Sheets. We feel a little bit more comfortable with that. They can actually, update that interface more, air quotes, safely. And that's piping right back into their WordPress site to update the pricing sheets, right? And that's probably of many, many, many use cases.
That's definitely been, I think, a very popular use for it. Is again, it is that comfort level of access. You know, a lot of agency owners are much more comfortable sharing that Google Sheet than they are sharing full access to the WordPress backend. I mean, as we all know, it can be kind of tricky to get everything locked down just right in the backend and managing all the capabilities. So if you could just keep them out of WordPress altogether, then it's like an easy win.
I'm going to throw up just a couple of questions that we're getting. I think you have a few folks from your team in the chat answering them, but page transition, super cool. What other UX features are in your kit? Do you have anything else similar to that?
So I would say that is definitely our flashiest UI thing, but we also do have File Upload Pro, which gives you the ability to crop images, edit them right when you're uploading them. It definitely is a very visual perk that provides some pretty powerful functionality. The other one that comes to mind is Advanced Select, which replaces your default dropdown in multi-selects. Again, it's a very visual one in the sense that it's a combination between visual and functionality, because it allows you to search, it allows you to select multiple results really quickly. And then again, of course, we integrated it with Populate Anything. So you can lazy load, thousands and thousands of choices. That was actually one of the big reasons that we wanted to do Advanced Select, was to make populating thousands and thousands of choices and dropdowns more performant.
One of the of your perks that I didn't get a chance to demo in my own demonstration was the is it Simple Inventory? Or
GP inventory, yeah. We
GP
actually had a
inventory.
snippet called Simple Inventory that, again, it followed that trajectory, snippet all the way to a full-fledged product.
Yeah, I use that on the nonprofit website that I was talking about in the top of the live stream today. And I was using that as like a sort of like ticket sales solution, like very simple. Here's inventory, or here's a product. Here's the inventory. You punch in just like, I don't know, 100, right? And you just have these simple products, you 100, and then it just does the inventory, right? So when it runs out of that, it just grays out the item. That really extends Gravity Forms into a more e-commerce type of thing. But you're doing more with WooCommerce these days, correct?
Yes, we are.
How are you sort of building into the WooCommerce ecosystem? I think that's important for agency owners out there and freelancers out there listening that are going into the e-commerce space, because, hey, you can definitely find some great clients that are running WooCommerce shops. Those are very sticky situations, literally and figuratively. You can build out bigger projects. What are you doing with WooCommerce these days?
So our current foray into the WooCommerce market is called Gravity Shop Product Configurator. And what that does is it allows you to embed a Gravity form into a product page and gives you full access to, gives the user the ability to customize that product based on however you've configured the form. And this was just something that it's variations of this have existed in the market before, but one of the things that we felt like we could really do better at is making it work with the Gravity Forms ecosystem really well, which I think we've definitely accomplished. It's the integration on both ends is tight. As far as value, though, yeah, just being able to use a full-fledged form builder to configure. I mean, think about all like the Gravity Forms features that you know and love. Conditional logic, calculations, and then extend that out into the wider ecosystem. All of our perks. You can create these highly configurable forms, and then now you can attach that form to a product. And it's, again, just a few clicks and it's there, and all that data gets captured alongside the order. It's pretty awesome. Matt, you're muted, buddy.
Second error of the day. Not that bad in 4 hours. I know the answer to this, but just frame it for the folks listening. Would somebody be able to build like a product configurator that would like change the actual price? Here's the base price. I'm going to use Gravity Forms and what in the different add-ons that you have to allow a user to change the product and change the price at the end of the day.
Yep, 100%. I mean, so it will honor all of your Gravity Forms product fields, which again have their own prices associated with them. So if just as you would complete a form and have all the product fields, you can click those options and it will kind of come up with the total. And then whatever that form total is going to be appended to your base price of the product itself. In some cases, if you don't want to have a base price, you want to let the form control everything, you can just set a base price of 0 on the product and then let the form handle all of the pricing logic.
It's fantastic stuff. Dave from GravityWiz. Dave, you got a Black Friday sale starting, right?
We do. Yeah, I think we're lined up with you guys. What, Tuesday? Tuesday, up to 50% off our pro license, 25% off our advanced license, 10% off our basic. We definitely, not just because we make more, but we think that it just works better when customers get on the pro license. Again, that includes minor customizations, unlimited perks, unlimited sites. If you're an agency owner, you don't even fuss around with the basic or advanced. Go straight to pro and you will never look back.
100%. Dave, thanks for hanging out today. For everybody else watching the live stream, there was a lot of technical questions that came in, but I think your team hit those. If you missed anything that happened today, it's all recorded. It's going to be on YouTube, and then I will probably break it up and send some out to the podcast and other dedicated videos. Yeah, Dave, thanks for hanging out. We're gonna bring in Adam from the team. Everybody's going to wave goodbye to Dave. Dave, I'm going to use the kick button. I don't really mean to kick you, but I'm going to kick you. And we're going to bring in Adam. Adam,
hello.
Welcome to the program. You're going to be our closing remarks guy today.
Okay, well, I'll do my best.
I see you missed the memo of the Gravity Forms t-shirts. That's okay. We won't dock you, moving forward. Listen, for those that have been watching all day, Adam's been hazing me in the chat all day about the quality of the live stream, the audio, the transitions.
I'm trying to keep you on your toes.
Yes, he's the guy who's responsible for the great design in our product. So I do appreciate it. Adam, we're going to chat about some stuff as we close out, about some future things happening. I'm going to start with something that our beta users have been playing with. You and I have been talking about it in the Facebook beta group. If you've been here all day, you saw the ad. Go to gravityforms.com/beta if you want to join in the private Facebook group where we're showing off a lot of the beta stuff, getting the beta software, sometimes the alpha software, into your hands. So if you want to be bleeding edge with Gravity Forms, that's where we can do it. Gravity SMTP. There's a product that's coming. You've been working on it. It's going to be a great solution for sending emails from your WordPress website, from your entries, from your sales, receipts, all of that fun stuff. We're going to chat a little bit about that today. Are you prepared to show off that a little bit? Do you have a working demo in front of you?
I can, while you're chatting, I can get it up and ready.
He can spin one up, ladies and gentlemen. Yep. He can spin one up. Mm-hmm. Gravity SMTP coming soon, December for the beta version. Beta
we're November 29th is when we have it slated to be released for the beta. So we're gonna get this week. We're doing the QA testing, make sure everything's working as we'd like, and then there will be a beta release on the 29th of November.
I really like this. A lot of people have been asking about it. Why another SMTP plugin? First and foremost, I think number one, as we've chatted about today, the idea of scaling your agency with one tool, a few other. You can buy some other plugins. It doesn't have to just be Gravity Forms, but having one tool to build solutions on. SMTP is one of those things where, there's some third-party tools out there. We end up having to support them, or not support them, but field support requests for them, or people are asking us questions about the hosting companies. My emails aren't getting sent. It's a high time we build something that's going to solve that solution, and why wouldn't you want to pair up the support from Gravity Forms with the support in Gravity SMTP, all made from the same shop, connecting all the dots. Was that enough time for you to pull up the demo?
I hope so. I'm just making sure that I get the right tab.
Go ahead and share your screen. I'm going to put it up.
Remember that last time I did one and I closed the wrong window? That was
totally left
good.
the chat.
I left the whole
chat.
So let's hope that this doesn't happen this time around. Okay, so I I'm just showing you here the welcome screen, or the welcome to the setup wizard. So when you install Gravity SMTP for the first time, you'll either see 5 steps over here, or you'll see 4 steps, which means if you're migrating from Gravity Forms, that our add-ons right now, we have Mailgun, SendGrid, and Postmark. If you've got any of those installed, and you've got Gravity Forms installed, there'll be an extra step here, and it will actually migrate all the information that you've got in those add-ons over to Gravity SMTP, meaning you don't have to set up all that stuff, all that fun stuff. You don't need to worry about that. You can just let the plugin take it over, and it moves it all over, and then it also double checks to make sure it works. So there'll be a step in that second step. When you have the plugin installed, that just double checks to make sure it's working. So in this version, I don't have the the Gravity Forms installed, so I'll just show you what it would look like without it. So you're gonna choose your mailer. So right now we are going with the beta version. We're just having Mailgun, Postmark, SendGrid, and other SMTP means basically any service that is an SMTP server you could use, such as Google Workspaces, Microsoft 365. They have SMTP, so you can use one of those. So that's good. So you'd click through. Let's click on Postmark, go to the next step, and hopefully that's okay. I can revoke that token later on, so no one's gonna copy it. So then you'd get this step here that basically asks you for those information. The reason why it's showing up right now is because I had Gravity Forms installed, and it just saves it to the database. That's why it's doing that. So usually you wouldn't see that. You'd have to copy and you'd have to click here and go fetch it, and then put your email address and your from name. And then on that step, it actually just double check to make sure it works, and then it gives you go back to the dashboard and make sure it's working correctly. So you now see Postmark is now set up, says connected, and if there was something you wanted to change, you could click on this little icon here, and then it would bring that same UI up as we just saw. Sorry, I'm still recovering from a cold, so if I sound a bit congested,
we won't fault you for it.
From here you can also see that link again. You can also click send a test, so we could do that if you wanted. You can also, this won't be in the beta, like reset the setup wizard. That's just for our internal purposes, so that we can just double check to make sure we're doing what all the things that are supposed to be happening are working. But we will leave this here. For some people, they might find it more easier to go through the setup wizard to set up their integration. So we're going to leave that here. There's a link here to suggest an integration as well. So let's say we don't currently have a whole lot on here right now, but these are all going to fill up. We're going to have a lot more integrations as we go, as we release more and more updates. So you can also just click this link. It will open a new link, and then you can submit I don't know if this is sharing this window as well, but you can submit an integration. Oh yeah, so there you go. That's how I do it if I want to switch back and forth, I guess. Okay, so so that's the integration side of things. We've got some test mode, which is basically allowing you to turn that on so that any emails that so basically what that'll do, any emails that are going to get sent from, let's say, WooCommerce or any plugins that send out emails, it will just basically retain the emails as long as the email logging is turned on, but it won't actually send them to the integration. So even though it says connected, it actually says test mode is enabled, so emails won't be sent. So let's say you're migrating a site, you're doing something like that, you can easily go ahead and just turn that test mode on. And then the logging, it was basically what it means is keep a log of any of the emails that are sent on your site. And you can also set the retention period. Let's say you have a lot of emails going back and forth. You obviously don't want to have that clogging up your database, so you can change the amount of time that they are stored for. So there's send a test. You can't send a test right now because we've got test mode enabled. There's also the system status. So let's say you're working with support, you can't figure out what's going on with your Gravity SMTP. You can click a button here. It says copy the system report, and then you could go and submit that to our support team. And lastly, this is the main table where you'll see all your activity of every email that's getting sent from your site. So you can click in here. You'll see log details, email details, and any technical information that is stored. And then you can paginate through. So you don't have to go back to the main table. You can paginate through, and it will just update the entry that you're looking at.
And
so yeah, it's quite minimal at the moment, but as we progress, we'll have more and more features that people are looking for.
And just to pull on a thread of what Kathy Zant was talking about earlier about the importance or the high value of contact forms, especially for clients. This is another reason why, like that logging screen, very important when, God, how many days I would have customers email in or back then call me, freaking out that, hey, person filled out a form on my site. I don't see the email. I'm not getting it. And, they then turn their attention to you, the freelancer and agency owner, for this important lead that means, money into their business. Like, where is it? I need it. This is important. Somebody wants a quote. I need to go repair something for somebody, or they ordered something. A tool like this, I know a lot of us know about it, but having that infrastructure that is sending out email safely, quickly, without spam, getting into their customer's inbox, but then you can log in as the agency owner and be like, oh, no, look, here's that lead. It went through. Here's the time. Here's the log, and you can show that, is going to make your world a lot easier and hopefully provide some value to the customer.
Mm-hmm.
Couple other things I want to wrap up on because it's been a long day, Adam, at least for this side of the camera. The other things that are coming. Gravity Forms 2.8 beta is out now. And one of the cool things is the compact view, right? So all of those complex fields, you have a contact form with dozens or hundreds of fields. Now you can kind of zoom out and see a more compact view of your form fields, but with still the very critical pieces of information, right? Like what kind of field is it? Is it required? And then you can kind of drag and drop these things around.
Yeah. You can see.
I know a lot of us are like, oh, it's not, it's just, hey, this is kind of a cool thing. I can't wait for it. It's like one of my favorite features.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely for those customers out there and also I've chatted to a few people in the Facebook group. They're like, this is desperately needed. like because they have such long forms. Some of them have very complex forms, and trying to manage such a large amount of data and then trying to move things around in that UI is just quite challenging. So having much more compact view definitely going to help a lot of people out there who have that going on. So
I know the product folks and the developers on the team get a little scared when I start talking live, especially live on YouTube. I think you said maybe we're going to get like bulk things that we can do with compact view in the future?
I'm not sure exactly when that functionality is coming, but I know it is in the works. We're kind of taking step by step to get towards it.
Sure.
So you'll be able to select multiple of those fields, and then it would, just like in the block editor where in the list view you can select multiple, it will have that same sort of appearance where you select them, they highlight, and then you can move them as a whole group. So that would be good as well. I think a lot of people might enjoy that. Yeah,
I like that too. Color code fields, group fields. Oh boy, don't get me in the product room. I'll start requesting some crazy things. And lastly, I believe today, if not tomorrow, ConvertKit, our add-on for ConvertKit is coming out. So if you're an agency that, you have your own newsletter using ConvertKit, or you're setting up email marketing campaigns for customers, and maybe you've used ConvertKit or looking for a new one, our official add-on from ConvertKit is coming out. ConvertKit had their own add-on, but I don't really think they were paying attention to it all that much. So we're building one because it is a high request. A lot of people have been asking for it. Anything else you want to close out with today, Adam? Anything else that you want to let the world know about Gravity Forms?
The repeater field is something like I can share because it's something that's on the roadmap. Like that's something that a lot of people want in Gravity Forms. So someone actually in the Facebook group had a question about like, but what about the repeater field? So the first step is to get the compact view dialed in, making it work and function really well, and we're working on all of that side of things. So that's in 2.8 and going beyond. So once we have that dialed, then we can look at the repeater field, because it's going to use a lot of the same UI actually. So that's exciting for those people who've been waiting for a UI for the repeater field. No timeline, but it's something that we're definitely working on.
Awesome stuff. Adam, thanks for hanging out today for some closing remarks, some look into the future of Gravity Forms. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate everybody who hung out today and watched the live stream. I feel like it went off really well. I'm hungry, so we're going to go get some food. But everybody, thanks for watching. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the old thumbs up button. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Share this. Again, if you've missed all the stuff that's happened today, it'll be on the YouTube channel. We'll slice and dice it, get it out into the newsletter, blog posts. Black Friday next week, 50% off. It's the best way to jump into Gravity Forms if you're not a customer yet. Check it out, 50% off next week. Everybody, thanks for watching. Adam, thanks for hanging out. See you in the meetings coming up.
See ya.